Welcome, everyone, to TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here, as always, is the Grumpy Old Man. They say there's no shame in his game because he's always the same.
That's me.
With us also today is recurring guest. I didn't even say almost co-host there, Son X, the magnificent Son X.
Featuring Son X.
That is right. How's everybody doing tonight?
Oh, not bad, not bad. We've got a lot to talk about. We've had some crazy developments in March Madness and the NCAA tournament, as always, as there always is. A lot of one seeds going down, it seems like left and right. Oh, excuse me. But a lot of craziness in March Madness. I had to sneeze, Grumpy.
You had to pause to sneeze?
What?
At least I don't get me started, Grump. Don't get me started.
I'm
this
just
week.
saying, you do it to me all the time. Now you do something,
about.
you're going to hear it because I mean, put the shoe on the other foot test.
Hey,
Sure.
you don't mess with Grump right now. He's in beast mode.
That's right.
Is he? Oh, the beast incarnate.
incarnate.
Oh, but yes, we got a lot of March Madness to talk about. We've got some NFL developments to talk about. I know how some listeners of the show love to talk some NFL. We've got some NHL Playoff Race updates that we want to talk about. I hope you guys did your homework and watched Formula One today.
Did you?
Maybe, yes. But we've got a lot to watch, or we've got a lot to talk about in that area. NHL postseason action, the World Baseball Classic. We'll be talking about that again. It's like the MLB is on a freaking war path to defend. Oh, this is not a meaningless tournament. Look at this. People love this tournament, the World Baseball Classic. Jose Altuve out with an injury, out 8 to 10 weeks as well. Another casualty of the World Baseball Classic. But there's a lot to talk about. For those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. This is a twice a week all sports podcast. We talk anything and everything sports. We talk NFL, we talk college athletics, college baseball, basketball. We talk about a little world football, some European hockey we're going to be talking about as well. We're also going to be talking about here some NBA news. We're going to talk NHL. We also talk MLB. We talk anything and everything sports every single Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every single Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you enjoy this content, the best way to show your support is by subscribing on YouTube, liking on Facebook, and following on Twitter. Also, leaving a little thumbs up. Apparently, that helps the algorithm get mine, the Grumpy Old Man, and Son X's word out to the masses.
That's right. Thumbs up. Thumbs up.
There it is. That's right. Thumbs up.
Hit the like button.
We got some comments here early. D-Cut says, TJ, where'd your hair go?
Oh, shit.
It's right on my head, D-Cut, you silly.
Early for
Where he lives right now, so it blew off.
Andrew L. said, Sparty. Izzo is March. Tom Izzo is March. Yes, Michigan State did go ahead and knock out Marquette today.
Interesting stat. For teams that didn't make the tournament the year before and they're seeded number 2 or higher, they've only gotten – none of them have ever made it out of the second round, which I thought was interesting. And it holds true this year as well. Interesting. Very interesting.
You talk about a low-scoring affair. My God, that was a hard-to-watch game unless you were a fan of one of those two teams. How many stretches did we go on where it's like nobody could find a freaking point?
That's the way it's been this year. I think basketball, college basketball in general, has been down. Scoring has been down. And you're seeing it in this tournament. Defense is king, right? I mean, let's be honest. The teams that are playing good, solid defense are the teams that are advancing. Also, they're not – again, I hate to bring up the refereeing in every single sport, but they're letting it go in a lot of instances. The physicality, which that's fine if you're going to do it all the way through. And if you're going to call it consistently like that, it's when you kind of flip-flap back and forth between games, and it's just frustrating. And the one thing I hate the most is when they review plays and they look for like, oh, did that skip off of a fingertip? If you can't make a ruling within 30 seconds, stick with the play called and move on. When you have like you got 30 seconds left to go in a tight game or 10 seconds, and you see the referees over at the bench for like 5 minutes scrolling back and forth. Oh, well, did it? Well, did it? They got like a rolling ball over here. Whoop, 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 whoop. It takes away the excitement of the game. It's just disappointing.
It does. It really does. And, there's a lot of excitement with March Madness. There really is. But there's some things that I'm just like, come on, we're getting caught in the weeds here a bit.
What do you think, X?
Yeah, Grump, I was going to hop on the point you made about defense. Think about it. Princeton, not a phenomenal shooting team at all. Defense has won them 2 games now, and they're into the Sweet 16. They're a very strong defensive team. You saw it when they who was it they knocked off first round? I'm trying to remember.
Gosh, it
was
so
Arizona.
long.
I think Arizona.
Yeah.
Arizona. And yeah, they played phenomenal defense in the paint against Arizona. I think they had I think it was like 7 blocks that game. I mean, helps. Defense is winning teams games this year for sure.
Let's talk about this.
Tennessee plays rock solid defense. Michigan
Who
State
did Tennessee beat, by the way?
I don't know who they beat in the first round.
Oh man,
who did they beat in the second round, Grumpy?
They beat Duke. Okay, I'm gonna say I'm not gonna say the outcome would have been different. Because Tennessee really out physical Duke.
Yes,
They're a
they
bunch.
did.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing: there were a bunch of seniors, right? They've been in the system a long time.
Men against boys.
Well, that's what I was going to say. They're men against boys, but losing Mike Mitchell just before tip-off, that's a big loss. He's your stopper on defense, and his guy went off yesterday. 10 for 13 shooting, perfect from the free throw line. The best game he ever had. I mean, kudos to the kid. He couldn't be touched shooting the ball yesterday. But when you lose a guy, it's different if you lose a guy. Okay, we lost a guy 2 games ago. You kind of game plan for something else. When you lose a guy in warmups, that's a problem because then you don't have that. You can't adjust. Really, really tough to adjust on the fly like
you
that.
think about it. Tennessee's probably going to make the Elite 8.
They're going to make Elite 8. They're going to be going up probably against Michigan State to see who goes into the Final Four.
Well,
I mean, look at the SEC
Michigan State
team.
or Kansas.
Michigan State.
Kansas is already knocked out. Well, we'll talk about that in a second.
Kansas State. No, Kansas
They're in a
State.
different
They play
bracket.
Kansas.
They're in a different bracket. Marquette was in the same bracket as Purdue.
Oh, sorry, they'll meet up in the Final Four.
They beat the Elite Eight.
That's what I'm saying.
State.
They'll meet up in the Elite 8.
Yes. Okay.
They're all over the place. Anyway, let's talk a little bit here. FAU, Florida Atlantic, playing Fairleigh Dickinson, as Grumpy always corrects me on. Again, they haven't been around or haven't made a big enough push for me to know the university's name just quite yet. I gotta say, though, Florida Atlantic is completely the opposite of Purdue. So I hope this means FAU wins. They're up. They're
by
up
11 right now. I think they scored the first 11 points of the game. Fairleigh Dickinson got it close within 3, and now it's back to 11. So
there it is. Fairleigh Dickinson. Driel, good evening. Andrew Ellis starts off with an early fire TJ higher D cut. That's quick.
You remember that big kid Edie from Purdue?
Yeah.
Yes.
I wonder if he's got that acromegaly disease like Andre the Giant has, where he just keeps growing. He just looks, abnormally big.
He's like 7'4".
He is abnormally big.
I know, but he looks like
dunk without having to jump. He's one of those guys who could just hang his hands up there and dunk.
He looks like he's got some growing left to do. I just think looks like he's got more growing left to do. He just looks like I'm just wondering if he has that disease. Because of his features. I mean, he's big all over, not just tall. I mean, just big. It's like if you took a regular sized person, 6 foot, and you just extrapolated him to 7'4". It's like not like he's thin.
Extrapolate.
I mean, yeah, extrapolate. Boy.
What were you saying though, X?
No, I said he could have growing left still in him, but
he's.
no idea.
You look at some of those really tall guys; they don't always pan out in the NBA.
A lot of them
not
typically
guys like that. Not guys
Because
like
the
that.
thing is,
But I
in the
mean,
NBA, you still got to be able to move. Height is one thing, but if you can't move or you can't hit shots, you can't dribble. I mean, you're going to get taken advantage of in the NBA. It's a lot different.
100% agree. That's why I think someone like Derek Lively, who didn't show really anything offensively, and yesterday, no points, wouldn't even shoot the ball. They say that, he's going to go pro. I mean, I think he's there defensively. He can move for a guy who's 7'1". He can really move. He's thin. Not that, of course it's easy to move when you're thinner. But what I'm saying is he has the agility to really move out there, which is a plus for him. I don't see that with the kid from Purdue.
They draft based off of projections. That's how they draft in the NBA. It's why so many guys who get drafted first, second, or third end up being absolute busts.
And they never
drafted an 18, 19-year-old kid where it's like, well, I like the way he moves and I like the way he plays defense, but I know he can't shoot. He doesn't have a jumper, can't hit anything from beyond the arc. Mid-range shots are kind of questionable at best, but we like how he can occasionally drive the basket and look dominant. That's what they draft players on and young kids on these days. I mean, you talk about the big guys. I mean, Chet Holmgren. What is he gonna do? Right? He broke his foot, obviously. He was, remember, that tall, skinny, lanky fella from Gonzaga. That's my point. Drafted second overall. Those taller kids, sometimes it's a struggle to get those to pan out. Can they put the weight on? Can they be an NBA size player?
I was saying Jalen Green's probably been one of the top performers from that draft class.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Chet Holmgren, too thin. Too thin. We talked about on this show. It's like that guy's skinny, never going to make it. Derek Lively.
Green.
Well, they said Jalen Green.
Okay, not ringing a bell.
Okay,
I think he plays for Rockets.
Okay, Derek Lively, 7'1", can move. He's not a big bruiser, but
he was a draft before Jalen Green. But continue, Grumpy.
Oh, he's a draft before. Okay, gotcha.
He's not Reed thin like the Holmgren kid was. I mean, there's a difference. I mean, you look at Holmgren, it looks like he's going to break something if he moves from spot A to spot B.
Remember, he broke his foot.
Well,
that's what kept him out this year.
He's the same kind of build as Kevin Durant has.
Who?
They have the same frame and the same structure. Holmgren does.
No.
He's taller than Kevin Durant.
Yeah. No,
they're both mighty thin.
Yeah, Durant's not. He was not that thin. This kid, you blow on him. You blow on him, he's getting knocked over.
The point we're making, there's many more stories of guys who are tall and lanky that can never put the weight on and be effective there because they just can't get to that NBA size, and the players who turn out and be successes on that. Because for every Giannis who was skinny as a rail when he was drafted, there's a million Bulls, or there's a million guys like Asheen. There's a million guys who are tall, skinny, lanky that could never put the weight on to be a big, dominant force down low.
True.
Yeah.
Just my point with the Lively kid. Even though he's thinner, he's athletic and he can move. I don't know where he's going to go in the draft, but he's a kid who his offense is going to come eventually. It's not that he's much better defensively than offensively right now. But if you could just teach him to do a little other things, his movement skills and his athleticism are what's going to get him drafted high.
But yes, Grumpy was getting back to the point there before I brought up Duke to try to shove it in your face. Man, oh man, Grumpy been wrong all the time with his predictions this year. I'll tell you, the one team I think that still has a chance to make a deep push this year for the NCAA tournament, Gonzaga. You know, I still believe in that squad. That's right. There's a lot of the top tier teams have gone down, like Kansas. For example, Kansas went down to number 8 Arkansas. Now, I'm not sure if you're too familiar with this Musselman fella, but he rips his shirt off when they win big games.
He did that at Nevada when he was coach at Nevada.
I'm not a fan of him ripping the shirts off. I'll let you watch it. I'll let you make your opinions up on them. But huge win for those Razorbacks over Kansas. A 1-point victory at the end. And look at this. Hold on.
You deserve to take because they could easily.
Jeez, he looks like superstar Billy Graham in his last tour of the second tour of the WWF when he had no muscle tone.
Hold on. What I like about it is he's got members of the crowd who are ripping their shirts off too.
Oh,
You've got two
yes.
or so members of the crowd ripping their shirts off, getting hype with the Musclemen.
They're
It's a big
kids,
win
though.
for them.
It is a big win. He did that at Nevada. I don't know who they have next.
Remember
but
the Cody Martin and Zach Martin, those two kids from that were played at NC State. They transferred to Nevada. I think he was the coach when those Martin brothers made that deep push at Nevada. He was the coach of Nevada then.
Arkansas is UConn next.
Oh, that's going to be a tough game. UConn's pretty good.
In my
UConn,
team,
it would not surprise me if UConn made it to the Final Four.
You know, the last three or the last two times they made it past or made it to the Sweet 16, they've won the tournament. UConn. So they're popping that up as, oh, UConn might have a chance to win it all again.
Was that when they had John
History.
Wall?
I'm going to tell you a team that's looked
Don't have
really,
John.
really, really, really good. Alabama.
Yeah.
Really good. Dominant. You thought that the thing with the Miller kid would derail them. First game, he didn't score any points, and they blew somebody out. And
Playing the 16 seed.
I know, but sometimes there's blowing a team out, and there's just, they let a team hang around, which happens a lot, right? You let teams hang around, particularly in the first game, no matter where you're playing. You let a team hang around. It's close, and then you put them away at the end. They're blowing guys out. I've been really impressed with Alabama.
They played Texas A&M, Corpus Christi Islanders men.
And I watched that game when I did watch that playing game. They looked pretty good. They were an energetic team, and they just got wiped out by Alabama. Wiped out.
But yeah, those teams with those UConn teams, they had Kemba Walker that one year, and I cannot remember who that second iteration had.
Kemba Walker, that was it. Kemba Walker.
Yeah, John Wall played for Kentucky. But yeah, they had Kemba Walker on that first iteration, and I cannot remember for the life of me who they had on that second iteration. But those UConn teams used to be, stout teams. And this is Arkansas. I feel like, and just like I'm not too familiar with UConn's play, but Arkansas looks like one of those teams that could beat anybody any given night, and they can lose to anybody any given night. Just depends on how the tide's moving at the moment for them. And it just happens to be that they're playing good basketball right now.
Is there anything more exciting, though, than a close game in the NCAA where you see, some team that's not expected to win, and all of a sudden, they're making a run and they beat a higher rated team? I think it's super exciting. It's what makes the college basketball championship so exciting, not the women's college basketball. Who watches that? I mean, it's the friends and family league, but the real league, the men's. It's really super exciting. It's super exciting.
Anyway, we've got here. Yeah, that was Furman who pulled off that big upset. The first round, they got the boot by good old San Diego State. It looked like San Diego State, another team, all seniors, men there, physical, really physical. I thought Auburn had a real shot of beating them. Well, Auburn played Houston, so a different team.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's what I was about to introduce it.
I'll
introduce it. Auburn looked like they were going to win against Houston. They were up 10 at halftime, I believe, and things just started to crumble for Auburn after half.
Yeah, again, Houston. I thought they maybe would shrink in that moment. They did not. Kudos to Houston, right? But San Diego State, another team, older, really physical. I mentioned
Furman. They beat Furman is who they beat.
And Furman, and who did they beat in the first round? It doesn't. I think
I don't know, Grumpy. It doesn't matter. I don't think.
Okay, but they're a team that's looking really physical out there as well. So
they've played against some powder puff squad so far, though. When you're the 5 seed, who you're playing?
Can I ask you a question? What's a paladin?
They'd be called
like a knight.
It's a
like
knight.
a knight.
Okay.
Furman Paladins is like a knight.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought really Auburn had a chance. Going into halftime, up 10 points, shocked they found a way to lose that game.
X, any comments?
No, I was just going to say, I think I was going to comment on TJ saying that he thinks Gonzaga is going to move on. I think UCLA looks pretty good, and they'll have to face off against UCLA.
They might lose tonight against TCU.
No,
they very well could.
I promise you, they're not going to lose to TCU.
Okay.
Grumpy.
I don't know.
The
I just think
Gonzagas
UCLA's
are making a run.
I just think UCLA's been playing well this tournament.
UCLA played a close one against Northwestern.
They did, but what they beat? Who was it? UNC Asheville. I mean, I know it's UNC Asheville, but they killed UNC Asheville.
Okay, UNC Asheville is a bad squad. Okay, it's just that simple. That's not. They win because they win their conference. That's it. Pittsburgh lost. Sad face. They lost to Xavier earlier on today. Kentucky went out there against Kansas State. Yeah, Michigan State we already covered. UConn beat the brakes off of St. Mary's here. In the second half, they really turned it on. Wow, Fairleigh Dickinson is not going away. Only down by 4. Creighton is going to close out against Baylor. They've got a commanding 15-point lead. Looks like Miami off to a good start. But yeah, I do have Gonzaga. I'm telling you, this has all the makings of Gonzaga making a very deep run.
I don't like that kid with the headband. I'm rooting against
Timmy. Drew Timmy, Grumpy. You don't like Timmy?
I don't like him.
I don't
know what it is.
Maybe
it's the cheesy mustache or that silly headband. It just no. It looks. You know what he looks like? He looks like a guy that you find at the YMCA. That is exactly what he looks like at the YMCA playing a pickup game with a bunch of other 35-year-old dads.
I kind of feel personally attacked. You're calling cheesy headbands and mustaches out of fad, Grump?
He's got the same.
What's that headband that you're using for?
And he's got the same hairline as you do, TJ. He doesn't need a headband.
Exactly. I'm saying it ain't keeping the hair out of your eyes.
There it is.
That thing is on. Look at that. And you got like at least 2 or 3 inches top and bottom of that thing. That's tough to pull off.
7-finger forehead, Grump.
Wow.
It's called a 7-finger forehead. It's impressive, ladies and gentlemen. It's impressive.
Not a forehead. It's a 5 head.
No, I said it's a 7. It's a 7 head. More than a 5 head. But yes, let's see. We just wanted to cover some March Madness to start the show. Meatball Parm said, good evening. Sorry if you already answered this before, but what do you think is fair compensation for Aaron Rodgers? I think that's a good segue in because Aaron Rodgers, right? The talks continue to heat up between Aaron Rodgers or between, hey, can the deal get done for the Jets and Aaron Rodgers? Now, here's what, again, Dov is usually pretty accurate on everything he puts out, but NFL teams not involved with Aaron Rodgers in a trade said they value his worth at a day 2 pick this year, meaning a 2nd or 3rd round pick, with a conditional pick or 2 on the back end. So, hey, if he does something well, maybe next year you get yourself another 3rd or something like that. Nobody seems to believe that 39-year-old Aaron Rodgers is worth a 1st-round pick like the Packers are asking for.
Do you want to touch on that first, X?
Yeah, I don't think that he's worth a 1st-round pick because I think that's what Green Bay was trying to get from originally, right? It was a 1st-round pick.
They wanted
1st round plus.
The 1st round plus.
Yeah.
They were looking for like
no. I mean, I think I think he's maybe got 1-2 more years left in the tank. I don't think he's worth what they're asking for him.
Here's the thing. He makes $60 million a year. Unless you're eating all of that contract, there's no way you're getting anything more than I would think. I could see them maybe giving a 2nd, maybe asking for a 2nd, but I would think more of a 3rd round pick with an option to make another 3rd round pick the next year. He's 39 and his contract is monstrous. Okay. And it's not like he's a proven winner like other quarterbacks who have changed teams in their 40s. Not like, he's like a 7-time Super Bowl champion or anything like that. This guy won 1 Super Bowl, and he's just choked away how many NFC championship games. He's just not a clutch guy. I think it's the right move for the Jets to get him, but not worth a 1st-round pick. Absolutely not.
And I think it's a better than, right, and I'm going to answer the question too, Meeple Parm. I think it's a better move, right? That people are saying, oh, this is the Brett Favre experiment 2.0. No. Rodgers is much better right now than Brett Favre was when he went to the Jets. And think about what Brett Favre did with the Jets, who were pedestrian at best when he went there. This is Aaron Rodgers is far better than Brett Favre was when he joined the New York Jets.
And also, one other thing, you're going to get a motivated Aaron Rodgers.
Yes. And here's the other thing as well. As long as Zach Wilson, here's a big if, big if. Will he take the coaching and tutelage, or will he be one of the prima donna players that say, oh my God, you went ahead and brought somebody in at the same position that's going to take my spot? I want to leave. I'm demanding a trade. What he should do, sit there, put his freaking learning cap on, and learn under a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback and try to absorb as much as he can from Aaron Rodgers.
I agree. I think that's what he will wind up doing. I really believe that's what he will wind up. And it's the best thing for him, honestly. It really is.
Give him a chance to reset, get his bearings underneath him, and be ready when called upon. Whether that's 2 years from now, whether that's in a pinch if an injury occurs, that's the best case scenario for Zach Wilson. But Rodgers, what is he realistically worth? If you're giving up a second-round pick, maybe you're giving up additionally a late pick in this year's draft, like a 5th or a 6th. I don't think he's much more than a second. I could really see the price depending on how close we get, because this honestly strikes me as a game of chicken at this point, because the Packers do not want to have an upset, disgruntled Aaron Rodgers on this team. The Packers also don't want to say, give me a draft pick in the 2023 or the 2024 NFL draft, and that's what we're going to be using as pieces going forward. They want to get that draft pick now and start that process of overhauling the team sooner rather than later. Time is so unbelievably important in the NFL. It really is. So, I'm thinking probably a second or a third. He's not worth a first.
No.
I think the other thing, the Packers are going to want to see what they have with Jordan Love as well.
Yep.
Right. But you want to, in my opinion, I'm going to agree with you on this, TJ. You're going to have to, you want to put as many pieces around him as you possibly can to get the most out of him. I mean, how many years does he have left on his rookie deal? 2?
After this, 2 years.
Okay. So it's like, they need to see if he's the guy moving forward, right? And so you don't want to make it where, like the Patriots and Mac Jones, where you have nobody to throw the ball to and they regress.
What do you mean?
I just
for now.
Yeah, well, he's Jacoby Myers, a little bit more physical. That's it. I mean, I don't think there's really much of a difference there.
Okay.
Hold on, Grumpy. You wanted me to pull up a picture there, Timmy. Here he is, Grump.
I want you to put your little headband on, and maybe we could do
He
a
actually
side by
has a
side.
lot more hair than DJ.
He has a lot more
Got
hair.
the same exact amount of hair, the same perfect hairline, Grumpy.
Their arms are very similar. Pasty white skin, cheesy.
He can't even get it on his head.
I'm just making sure I'm tying it up. It's not a headband; it's a tie, ladies and gentlemen. It's an Islanders tie.
Yeah,
that
like that makes a difference. I'm just stunned at how much space you have between your eyebrows and the top of your head.
It's a deceivingly skinny tie is what the problem is, because my head is completely normal sized. That's what it is.
Can you pull up a picture of the movie Megamind?
Oh,
Because that's what your just pull that up because that's what your head kind of looks like. Megamind. If you just put a tie around it, just imagine Megamind.
This guy looks pretty badass, so I'm not sure who he is, but he looks like a complete badass, Grumpy.
Or you could bring up Kazoo from the Flintstones. I'm just stunned at the scullage above and below the tie. It's astounding, actually.
Here you go, Grumpy. It's Megamind.
There you go. Look at that. Look at that skull. Tell me that's not you.
It's not me.
It's not because he's smart.
We got a comment here from. Okay, oops. Let's scroll up here. I lost my place. We got a comment here from D-Cut saying, "Grump, how are you handling your Duke Blue Devils getting bounced already?"
The injury to Mitchell hurt them, but I don't know.
Excuses.
No, I'm not making it. If you let me finish instead of butting in, I don't know if they would have beat them anyway because Tennessee was really physical, and the referees let them get away with that physical play. And if that's the way the game is called, that's advantage Tennessee. And that kid was lights out shooting yesterday.
Joseph C. This is a talking point too.
Just pull for
The
underdogs
Rangers.
now.
Was that X?
Oh, I said just pull for underdogs now.
I'm
That's
just
what I'm
pulling
doing.
for. I'm just pulling for entertaining basketball. That's it. But
Yeah.
Joseph C says here, scoring 6 goals last night, the Rangers did, and 7 tonight through 2 periods. The Rangers are starting to click. Let's talk a little bit about that. X, did you have a chance to see the Rangers just pour it on last night against the Penguins, and again doing it today against the Nashville Predators?
I did not, but 6 goals, then 7 goals tonight is pretty insane.
He
I
scored a
think I heard
touchdown.
also the Bruins. Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I think the Bruins also won by 7 goals as well.
They
A lot
did.
of scoring going on in the NHL.
Just a few points. Just a few points they put up. That's it.
It's funny, Joseph, because it's funny you bring this up. I called up TJ just before the show and I said, Rangers, this is when it was after 1. It was 6-0. I said, Rangers are heating up. I said, watch out for the Rangers. I don't know if it's going to translate in the playoffs, but I mean, if you're a Rangers fan, you have to be happy with how they're scoring. All right. One game was against the horrible no goaltender Pittsburgh Penguins.
Well, they scored, if you date even 2 games back, they scored 4 goals against the Penguins 3 games ago. 2 games ago, 2 games ago, they scored 4 against the Penguins. Then they played the Penguins again, scored 6, and tonight up 7 goals.
The Penguins don't count, in my opinion, because they don't have a goaltender. It's like I'm in net without pads. I mean, stop. No. But the fact that it's good when you're scoring that many goals, long story short. So the Rangers looking good right now. Are they getting hot at the right time?
I would argue it definitely looks to be the case. I'd be feeling confident if I'm a Rangers fan. Seems like things are starting to click. Drew L said, all I know is that Calipari continues to prove me right, that unless he has an excessive amount of talent, he cannot coach his teams to victory like Coach K and Bill Self.
X, any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think
pay attention, X.
No, I am. No, I mean, yeah, Coach K was probably the greatest basketball coach in college basketball history. I mean, he coached NBA All-Star teams. He's just phenomenal and trained people. I don't think it's fair to put Calipari up there with him, but
well, he's saying that Coach K X cannot win unless he has excessive amounts of talent.
Well, I mean, it's been the same thing for Duke in the past.
He cannot coach his teams like Coach K. Coach K and Bill Self can coach them to success without excessive talent. I'm sorry, I misunderstood that comment.
I mean, I wouldn't say that there are some years Duke had really, really good talent where they got knocked out in the first round against a 16 seed. I mean, sometimes it's just your team's either hot or they're not. What?
It was 2 against 15. Or
2 against 15. Sorry, 2 against 15. But it's either you're hot or you're not. I mean, the tournament's kind of it's kind of different. Like, it's only one game. It's not like you're playing a series against a team or anything like that. It's like, if one kid on this team is shooting lights out, you're not winning. You're not beating them.
Kentucky, for me, has been one and done I just think it's really hard to win with the one and dones. You have to have superior athletes who gel at the right time. They have to be almost like men. Otherwise, you're going to get bullied when you get into the tournament. I think that he suffered that like that. And so did Duke, to be honest with you. I know that Duke is changing their recruiting strategy a little bit where they're not going to be loading up on the one and dones like they had previously. The method to really win and be sustained good, which under Coach K, they had that when he started until Kentucky went wild with the one and dones, and then they jumped in, was having guys who would stay 2, 3, 4 years. You get to grow with the program. It's real tough to teach the program every single year with no, institutional knowledge from other guys.
They did have some veteran leadership. Oscar Tshiebwe is, he was a guy who was a senior this year. I mean, he's played well, and he was the leader, I'd say, of that team. But you're right, for a lot of these players, I mean, Kentucky, the one and dones, I think we've mentioned sports in general has become more and more competitive where you could see an underdog beat a juggernaut left and right. I mean, that's just how college basketball is. We don't see a lot of these teams who are just superstar studded teams that are, bar none, the favorites. A lot of a lot of the teams are kind of muddled, where anybody can beat anyone. And the veteran leadership, as you mentioned, is far more important. It far outweighs this small advantage of talent in a big moment like that. It really does. Joseph C said, by the way, if Dak Prescott can't get to the NFC title game with CeeDee Lamb and now Brandon Cooks, he'll never get there.
Yeah,
Any
I don't think
comments?
Dak Prescott's the answer. Yeah, I don't think Dak Prescott is the answer for the Cowboys. But yeah, I agree. I mean, them bringing in Cooks is huge, and yeah, I mean CeeDee Lamb, and then who's it? Who's the running back that they just signed to
Well, they didn't sign him, but
franchise
he's
tag?
still there.
Right, franchise
You're
tag.
talking about Tony Pollard.
Yeah, Tony Pollard too. I mean, it was unfortunate he got hurt last year in the playoff game because he was dominating. But yeah, I agree. I don't think if they can do it this year. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna ever.
For me, I don't think much of Brandon Cooks.
Neither do I.
He's fast, but he's a one-trick pony. I don't know. I think he's a glorified number 2. He's better on crappy teams. I don't think he's the answer. What's the difference? I don't think that has anything to do with it. CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, they're going to need – it would not shock me at all if Bijan Robinson, if he's there when Dallas picks, that they pick him. That would not stun me at all.
I'm telling you this. The Dallas Cowboys offensively are not structured well. Look at the wide receiver threats they've got. Brandon Cooks is more of a long play wide receiver. Same thing with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is a guy who does much better, and he does great when he wins those contested balls, and he has time when they've got time in the pocket. They've always had a fantastic offensive line. He is another you're not putting CeeDee Lamb in a slot. You're not.
I disagree that CeeDee Lamb is not a deep down the middle guy. He's not. He runs a lot of slot receiver routes from the outside. He's not, okay, I'm running a 20-yard up or a 20-yard out. He's not that. He comes over the middle. He does all that stuff. He's their number 1 wide receiver option.
His cuts gets him open.
But
Cooks,
I said his cuts are what gets him open.
Yeah, Cooks is down the field. That's not what CeeDee Lamb is. I mean, I think he's a compliment in that way. I just don't think that Brandon Cooks is – I mean, he's great for fantasy owners because he's always going to get his numbers because he plays on shitty teams that are always chasing from behind and, they'll lay off and let him have his catches. But in big moments, I'm not a Brandon Cooks guy. Just not.
I'm not either. I don't like the way the offense is constructed. I think CeeDee Lamb is a guy where his routes are not – they don't have a slot guy that makes me feel comfortable that, hey, we can get the ball out quick and we can move the ball downfield. We have to have fantastic protection. We've got to have a pristine pocket in order for Dak to sit there and dissect defense in order for wideouts to get open. That doesn't work in big game scenarios. It just doesn't.
Well, not for them. It doesn't. I don't think Dak Prescott's a great quarterback. I don't.
He struggled last year. This is most interceptions in the NFL last season. So this is a big year for him. Frank C said, good evening, boys. What was that, X?
Oh, I said he didn't even play the whole year.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was out injured again to start the year.
Frank C said here, good evening, boys. Good point on the replay. 30 seconds. Move on.
Keep the game moving. Keep it moving.
D-Cut said, TJ throwing some shade on Grumpy. Wow. Absolutely. You know how it is. Joseph C said, looking forward to St. John's hiring Rick Pitino, by the way. Maybe they can find a way to be relevant for the first time since the 1980s.
If they hire Rick Pitino, that's a great hiring by St. John's.
Sure.
I mean, He had the Louisville thing, which cost him his job. But for me, I think that's a fantastic hiring for where the St. John's program is now. He will make them relevant again.
And although Kansas State is a really good team, and I know they have a couple of NBA potential talent, knowing one being Keontae Johnson, Yeah, he said although. I was expecting something else to be at the end of that there, Drew. Maybe he was expecting them to lose. But TJ has moved from his head to his mustache. TJ's hair.
TJ's hair has moved from his head to his stash.
There it is. Creighton up by 15. Stephen Porter said, listening to Sun X. Does he even watch sports?
Oh.
Kansas State, get it together.
My mic must have cut off. No, I said Kansas State, and then Grumpy went ahead and tried to confuse me over there. No, I said Kansas State.
Drew L said Baylor is another fraud program. Banish them from the tourney. They made it to the Elite Eight last year.
In a minute.
Yeah, 45 seconds go down by 11. I mean, Creighton played a great game. They got a couple of guys can really shoot the ball from outside.
Yep.
They showed a little graphic how Creighton was 6-0, top 10. Then they lost six. Then they lost 6 straight games, and I think by the end of the year, I think they were ranked 23rd. But good for Creighton. That's a type of team I'll root for. They're an underdog. Give them a shot.
I can tell you one thing. I promise you tonight, there is no way in hell the TCU Horned Frogs beat Gonzaga. They still have that miserable Jamie Dixon as their head coach. That freaking no offense, no scoring pile of shit Dixon at the helm. They're not beating Gonzaga. Gonzaga might beat TCU by 17 points. I'm talking about putting on a clinic.
If I remember correctly, didn't you have a shrine of Jamie Dixon at your house when he coached for the University of Pittsburgh?
No, Dixon's been gone for years. Now I'm talking about he's been gone for 10 plus years, almost a decade.
You had his fancy little shirts hung up in your room.
That's it. I've got Jamie Dixon. Actually, what you don't see here on the wall is I've got a shrine to him. That's right, X. D-Cut says, any update on the Sun X mask, Grumpy?
I've been slack as hell, D-Cut.
Yeah,
I got to get it. I'm
slack
just
as a motherfucker.
all right. Why do you got to use that type of language?
Because you're just slack as a son of a gun, Grumpy.
Use that around your friends, not on the podcast.
Ugh.
Yeah, I do have to get that mask. I will get something done this week, certainly.
Tony G's got a comment. X, I'll let you read this one.
Well, that's his top talking basketball. Drew is probably touching himself right now.
No, definitely touching himself right now.
Oh, man.
He's probably done touching himself already.
Joseph C. said, Dan Hurley's doing a really good job at Connecticut. The first time they've made the Sweet 16 since 2014, which is they won the tourney back in 2014, too.
Can't keep those Hurley boys down.
Oh, man. Drew L. said, for some reason, Alabama, Creighton, and Gonzaga look like they're going to win it all. I'm telling you, Gonzaga, watch out for Drew Timme. Watch out for the Zags.
Alabama's the real deal.
Yeah,
I think Alabama's the
guys,
best.
we meet again. And Drew said the thing about FAU in particular is none of their starting players are seniors. So their current roster is sustainable for more tournament runs.
Unless some of them start smelling themselves and say, hey, we've had a great tournament run. I scored a bunch of points because they do score. I'm going pro. That's what usually does teams in.
Drew L. said, TJ, don't you remember the #1 rule about March Madness? Islander fans quote it all the time. Anything can happen.
The difference, and here's the thing, that's what makes March Madness so great. It's not like it's a series, a best of 7. You know, the best team usually wins a best of 7. But, you know, in a one game, everything goes situation, anything can happen.
And it's the upsets, too. You don't get that in any other sport. You just don't.
True.
We've got here, too, if you think about it, TJ looks like Drew Timme.
I hope Drew Timme reads better than you. He's never graduating from Gonzaga.
I tell you, there's no commas, there's no punctuation. What can I say, Grumpy? I don't
know. You can't read the words. It's the words that trip you up. If was a tough one for you there.
Andrew L. says, MSU or Kansas State. Is that good, Grumpy? Did I sound that one out? Did they go ahead and nice, long, and drawn out for you?
What a loser.
MSU or Kansas State?
I don't think
I'm going to go Kansas State. I'm going to go Kansas State will beat Michigan State.
I am too. Kansas State.
Okay. We'll see. It should be fun. I mean, we talked about it even before the tournament started. It's not like, you have like the dynamite teams up top like you usually do who always go deep. This season's been crazy where a totally different set of teams have been the top ones all year. And you're seeing that in this tournament, right? Only 2 number 1 seeds are left. Probably the 2 that no one expected. Maybe Alabama, yes, but certainly not Houston. You see Kansas, a blue blood, get knocked off. Purdue, who used to be a perennial power, and they got, acromegaly man over there in the middle, and they got just rolled. So, it just kind of is what it is. And that's what makes March Madness the best, though. It really does.
Here's what I thought. I thought that.
Go ahead, X.
I was saying, here's what I thought. I thought the top 2 teams out of the number 1 seeds were going to be Purdue and Alabama. I thought Kansas, after they had that loss to Texas right before the tournament, I did not think that they were going to go very far because they got killed by Texas. It wasn't close. And then I thought Houston was probably the weakest out of the 4, but they're proving me wrong.
Yeah. And Texas, don't write off Texas.
No.
Don't write off Texas.
They're getting hot at the right time. That's for certain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Got here Goon saying, only the Jets. This is shaping up to be a one and done bomb a la Brett Favre. Hopefully, Rodgers doesn't send any pee-pee pics. I'm not sure it's a one and done thing. I think he'll be there a little longer. I think probably 2 years. 2 years from Rodgers, and I think he's done.
Yeah, he will absolutely get his full contract without a doubt. He's not retiring. I'll tell you what, as a New York fan, I don't think you could ask for anything better from come football season. Giants are pretty good. Jets should be pretty good. And what's the over and under on, the first Aaron Rodgers explosion with the press? I mean, I think that's what people are going to be looking for.
Preseason.
It will not be preseason. Will not be preseason. But I think he's in for a rude awakening when it comes to the press. It's not Green Bay press anymore.
He's not a guy who's too kind to the press, though, either. So, Gungun says, also, if Rodgers goes to the Jets and flees after 1 or 2 years, they're back in quarterback purgatory.
Well, that's why you got to hope that Zach Wilson. Yeah, Zach Wilson. That's what I said. That he can develop and take over at that time. That's the big thing. You have to find out. If not, then you should start drafting another quarterback now.
Drew L said, all he knows is if the Jets drafted Brock Purdy, they wouldn't have been in the situation they're in today. Yeah, you could say that about any NFL team. If the Panthers drafted Brock Purdy, they wouldn't be having to trade up to the number 1 overall pick. It goes on and on.
They'd still be out of a quarterback for week 1, though.
Brock Purdy? Sorry, no. What makes you think Brock Purdy's any good? He played for a team. The 49ers were loaded. Great defensively, really good weapons, tremendous offensive line. I mean, and they didn't play anybody down the stretch. They didn't beat anybody good. I mean, and then he gets himself hurt. So it's like, I mean, if you watched him play games, did you say, wow, look at the way he throws the ball, or man, he can really thread that needle. Look how smart no, guys are wide open. He's throwing hump balls out there and they're just picking on. It's not like he was fantastic.
James F says Rodgers is a tool. And also USA is up 7-1 over Cuba.
Let's see if we can get some injuries from some of the USA.
I think that's a good segue. I'm not sure if you guys happen to be, and maybe X has a better chance of knowing about this on social media. They're trying to get all over the place. Like the World Baseball Classic is a meaningless tournament. Yes, it is.
I really haven't seen anything on baseball, but my Instagram feed and everything is covered with, Trey Turner hit a grand slam for Team USA. Mike Trout hit a home run. Everything is all international baseball or the World Baseball Classic. Everything.
The 8th inning, the United States back on top, leading Venezuela.
Oh, look at this. Look how excited they are. Woohoo! They're so excited. As a freaking MLB fan, I can give 2 fucks about that. It's like saying I'm super excited about who wins the Olympic gold in hockey. Yeah, I'll watch a little bit of it, but I care much more about how my NHL team does than a silly tournament, than a silly Olympic gold. It means nothing to me. Nothing.
It's a preseason tournament. It's like the World Hockey Championships back in the day where they had the best NHL players. I mean, I enjoyed watching it because I'm an NHL fan, and they were the best players in the world. Canada, Russia, and the USA. Tremendous, tremendous tournament. That's not the case here. You got to remember, these guys, the pitchers are not in shape, absolutely not in shape.
Come and start throwing 7-8 innings when you haven't done any preseason training and haven't gotten a chance to really start loosening the arm and getting in game shape.
And what does it mean for these teams? Like, here it is. How happy is Houston about the World Baseball Classic?
8 to 10 weeks out. How happy are you if you're a Houston fan? Hey, you're going to be without Jose Altuve for 8 to 10 weeks.
Or our friends, the sad sack New York Mets. Your closer, done for the year. What does that do for your chances?
Definitely doesn't help them.
It does not.
Hey, well, guess what? I could say USA won the World Baseball Classic. What happens if Mike Trout goes out there and tears his AC? Okay, you're noticing there's a lot of injuries early like this too. There's not a lot of these games that are played first off. We talk about MLB action and how much, it's a war of attrition. These are not like little minor nagging injuries where it's like, ooh, I've got a little hamstring strain, because the spring training games they're not at the same level. They're not you're saying, hey, I'm revving it up from going, I'm in the off season where I'm going 110% because we want to go ahead and win the World Baseball Classic. I'm sorry. Like Nimmo went ahead and got a little banged up, but guess what? Because it's a spring training game, they're not going 110%. He's like, yeah, I expect to be back by opening day. I don't know. You see the injuries continue to pile up, and it's not like there's a shit ton of games that have been played. And this is another big important player that's going to be out injured.
And you're not talking about Sammy Scrubby Brush Boy. Go ahead, X.
I was saying, I think that this is a way for them to expand the sport to other countries and make it more popular. I think that's the whole premise of having this.
How many people from Japan are waking up or staying up until ungodly hours at like 3, 4 a.m. to watch MLB games? They've got Japanese baseball.
They'll watch reruns of it.
Oh,
I'm just saying. I mean, I think that's the whole premise of them doing this tournament is to expand it around the world.
I
have it at the end of the season. Have it at the end of the season. The best players who didn't make the postseason, if you get injured like Altuve here, breaking your thumb, well, you're going to be out in the offseason 8 to 10 weeks instead of missing 8 to 10 weeks of money making and prime time there for your MLB squad.
That's what the NHL does.
I was saying, I agree. It's bad for the MLB teams. It absolutely is.
I mean, that's what the NHL does. They have the World Hockey Championships at the end of the year after the regular season. So the guys are still in game shape, and they go out there and they have some ridiculous little tournament that nobody really cares about.
Right.
And hey, I played for the World Hockey Championship. Who cares? Nobody does, but it lets the guys play for another 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I could care less who wins that too every year. Oh, USA won, Russia won, Canada won. I could care less. I could care less. And I could care less who wins the World Baseball Classic. As a fan of the New York Mets and as a fan of baseball, I can give a shit whether Venezuela, Cuba, or the USA wins the World Baseball Classic, right? They took it out of an Olympic sport, and this was their reaction. Oh, we're going to do the World Baseball Classic.
How is it determined who played on these teams? I don't see any Yankees playing on those teams. I don't see Aaron Judge down there. I mean, why did the Mets let him go? Did he say, oh, I want to play there? Then you should sign a damn waiver. The waivers.
Remember, the World Baseball Classic, they're already going to pay his contract. I don't care about the paying of the contract. I can care less of who gets the money where, Grump. I care more about, we've got players now out that are important players and critical players for our team's success.
I just want to know, were there players politicking to play in this thing?
I'm sure there are. The way it's written in the MLB, in the MLB, they've come to agreements to where they can play in this, Grump.
Okay.
I just don't get the obsession of playing in this meaningless tournament. It is meaningless. I don't give a shit what they try, what type of freaking bullshit they're going to try to spew out there because they're getting backlash because it is a fucking meaningless tournament. I don't care what it is meaningless. And you see all these guys who are we're big. You look at some of these freaking, look at the comment section of this. It's of course on the MLB. They do like that. The WBC is a meaningless tournament. Oh, yeah, look at this. And they've got all these. Yeah, baseball hasn't been an Olympic sport in several years, which is why they created this, blah, blah, blah. Hey, injuries happen. It sucks, but don't hate. Go US. Yeah, okay there, Louis.
He's a guy, he writes for MLB, I'm sure. All these guys are plants. They're all plants.
No, he's not. He's just a random fan.
They made that up to make him seem like he's probably Bud Seliger's son or something.
I'm telling you, it's an absolute joke.
What was it? Wait, go up there. Hold on. Go the other way. Next picture up. No, yeah. What the hell is that?
I don't know, Grumpy.
What is this guy accosting that other guy? What the hell's going on?
Anyway, yes, to answer your question, it is an absolute joke. I can give two shits about it. And if Mets fans, if you're happy, I hope you get what you're happy about. As a Mets fan, I'm not happy. Any chance we just had to make a run in the postseason or having a chance to make the postseason, I think, is evaporated.
Yep, over.
Yep. I'm not going to rely upon our setup man to come in and be a closer. Sorry. I don't think that's sustainable over a 162 game season.
It's not. That's what David Robertson and Adam Ottavino were supposed to come in. They were supposed to be the setup guys for Edwin Diaz. That was it. Now you're scrambling. At least it's early in the year. Okay. At least it's early in the year. It's not like day of where, he would break his ankle or something, go in there, warm up for the ninth inning after you used up all your pitchers.
Hey, the tournament's not over. There might be more injuries to come. Ladies and gentlemen. Could you imagine this? What if Shohei Ohtani tore his ACL playing in this worthless tournament? How do you think the MLB is singing a fucking tune then? The freaking reigning MVP.
Our money-making machine just went down.
What is that, X?
Oh, I said our money-making machine just went down. That's exactly what they would think.
Yeah, exactly. The important players that draw eyes. Because guess what? The big thing that draws eyes to the MLB, maybe we should just focus on regaining the audience back in the United States first. Because this used to be America's sport. This used to be America's pastime.
Yep.
Right? You lost America's viewership. Why? Let's address why we lost America's viewership. Because, right, if you want to get people interested, the people ideally that are going to be watching it during normal hours are going to be more prone to pick up the sport and put the TV on and watch.
The reason why they have lost American viewership is because they let the analytics nerds run the game by saying, just swing for the fences. Home run, strikeout, walk. I said it 100 times in the show. Over 1/3 of every at-bat is a home run, a strikeout, or a walk. Games that go on for 4.5 hours. Games that don't start. World Series games that don't start until 8:45.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? That means that the East Coast is not watching. Who's going to watch a game that goes on till 2 o'clock in the morning? Not your average fan, not kids. And here's the thing. Baseball is inherently, it's called a pastime for a reason. It's the thing you could kick back, but kids don't want that anymore. So, and then to MLB's credit, they instituted the pitch clock, which I like. I do not like the fact that they banned the shift. I think tough shit. If a player can't adjust, you're an out. You're an automatic out. But of course, we got to pacify the players. I don't know. For me, it's good. And think about how many labor stoppages they've had over the years.
Yep.
I mean, that hurts the sport always. Every single time. There's never a winner in that. And the biggest losers are always the fans. Always.
And Edwin Diaz is not a huge player. He's not huge on the scale. But guess what? Think about the social media attention he drew last year. Just random fans doing the Timmy Trumpet. Not even freaking Mets fans. Just random fans because it was popping up all over social media. And Mets fans going crazy doing the Timmy Trumpet.
We don't even get to hear that song for another year.
Was that Grump?
We don't even get to hear that song for another year.
Yep. And guess what? Could you imagine if Shohei Ohtani or a guy like that were to go out at a freaking meaningless tournament like this? Is right. Meaningless. I'll say meaningless.
Yeah.
Tony Cheese gave this when Kayvon Thibodeau walks by.
Ho! He likes him.
Kayvon Thibodeau.
He likes him some Kayvon Thibodeau.
He's fantastic. I like it, Tony Cheese.
He's not fantastic.
He's fantastic. Drew L said this podcast is sponsored by Keeps. There it is. It's sponsored by Keeps. Joseph C says here, people don't realize that between 3 quarterbacks, the Jets had 15 touchdown passes and nobody had a completion percentage over 58%. Rodgers is a huge upgrade.
I think he makes the Jets a Super Bowl favorite.
You are freaking high on something, Grumpy, and I need to know who your provider is.
I didn't say the Super Bowl favorite.
Super Bowl favorites in general is freaking ridiculous. Come on.
Okay. Top 4 team in the AFC. Top 4 team without a doubt.
The AFC is fucking stacked, my friend.
They did everything they did last year without a quarterback.
So you're thinking, let's talk about it. Do you think they're better contenders than the Bills?
I think they're right up there with the Bills. They beat the Bills last year with no quarterback. They beat them. They haven't beaten the Patriots, I think, in 8 years, 6 years. I don't even know how many years.
So better than the Bills.
I think
better than the Bengals.
They beat the Bengals last year, didn't they?
Was it week 1, week 2?
I don't know, but I think
Bengals start off 1-3 to start the year, something like that. 1-2.
Their defense is tremendous.
I can't reason with you. You think they're better than the Chiefs?
No, I do not.
I'm sorry. It's tough to reason with you, Grumpy.
Injuries are part of the sport, though. You never know.
I think you know what they should do? They should play a world football tournament where they should go ahead and have every single nation or every single state, maybe. They play a whole bunch of teams, all 50 teams face off the starting teams, and they go ahead and see who can be crowned the best football state in all of the U.S. I think they should do that at the beginning of every single NFL season. Injuries be damned. I don't care if we're playing a year without Patrick Mahomes or we're not going to see Joe Burrow out there. I've got my Ohio pride or my Florida pride or my North Carolina pride, and it's not a meaningless tournament. Let's go. State will have who's the best football state ever.
Okay, let's get back to the serious topic of the Jets. So where would you rank the Jets with Aaron Rodgers?
In the AFC, I think there may be a 5th or 6th best team in the AFC. 4 is ridiculous.
Name the 5 teams better than they are with Aaron Rodgers. I think you're underselling what Aaron Rodgers is capable of.
I think the Bills. I think the Bills are better. I think the Bengals are better. I think the Chiefs are better. That's why I mentioned all 3 of those.
Well, there's 3. Give me the other 2.
3.
I think the Chargers are better too.
Oh, hell no. Hell no. Hell no. They can't even make the playoffs. Hell no.
They did make the playoffs.
That's right, and they got beat by fucking Jacksonville.
I think the Jags
blew a 24-point lead.
Better than the Jets.
You think Jacksonville's better than it? You're crazy. You're crazy.
Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback at this point, I think, going into this next year than Rodgers.
You're wrong. You are wrong.
Okay.
You're absolutely wrong. You're going to get a motivated Aaron Rodgers. He mailed it in last year. He mailed it in. He was league MVP 2 years ago, undeserved, but he was still league MVP. He didn't have the best numbers. TB12 did, but he was still league MVP 2 years ago. Then they lost Devontae Adams. He had the squabble with Green Bay. He mailed it in last year. He's going to be motivated. The Jets have weapons. The only thing they don't have is a quarterback. And maybe they need an offensive tackle. I don't trust that boy.
How about your mighty boy Lamar Jackson in the Baltimore Ravens? You think they're just going to – I think the Browns are a really freaking competent team. I think watch out for the Browns this year. Yep.
You're underselling the Jets' defense.
Watch out for the Browns.
Okay. You're underselling the Jets' defense.
I think the Jets are probably between 5 and 6. I don't think that's underselling. To think that this team, non-playoff caliber team, year in, year out, is going to jump to being a top 4 team in the AFC, the toughest division or the toughest conference in all of football, is freaking ludicrous. Absolutely nuts, Grump.
Okay. I think they're absolutely a Final Four team.
What do you think, X? Do we have you?
Yeah, sorry. I thought you were saying something else to Grump. You both were talking at the same time. No, I think they're going to be a lot better this year than they were last. What?
I said, is X paying attention? I said, what do you think, X?
Yes, Yeah. Okay. I think they're going to be a lot better than they were last year. I think they'll be. I agree with you. I think they'll be like a top 5 team. It could have gone a lot worse. They could have got Jimmy Garoppolo. So I think Rodgers is definitely a lot better than Jimmy G or a lot of the other quarterbacks that were signed to extensions that were out there.
And the other thing you forget about the Jets, they had a tremendous draft last year. Their best players are younger guys, just getting better. Sauce Gardner's only going to get better. Garrett Wilson's only going to get better. These are guys who are just going to be improving, not getting worse.
You don't step that big of a jump. That's all I'm saying.
Cincinnati did 2 years ago.
Cincinnati has a good quarterback entering his prime. The Jets are going to have a quarterback that Rodgers is not in his prime anymore, right?
Okay, but
he's do it.
I mean, like I said, he was league MVP 2 years ago.
I'm going to ask you this. Russell Wilson played really well 2 years ago before he moved to the Broncos.
No, he didn't. Absolutely not. He did not play great for Seattle for a number of years, and he's never been league MVP. No one ever said, why Russell Wilson, best quarterback in the NFL.
Russell Wilson, before his shitty year with Seattle, you were absolutely wrong, and this is why I've got to call you on it, Grumpy. Before his shitty year with Seattle, he had a 68.8%. This is during 20.
But 2 years ago, he was dog shit. That's my point.
Before his last year with Seattle. This is my point. Listen, he had that bad year with Seattle before he left, and it wasn't even that bad. It wasn't as good as what his standards have been in the past. But, right, he comes off a fantastic year. We'll call this
That's 3 years ago.
You gonna let me explain?
3 years ago.
You gonna let me explain? Sit tight for a second, please. Aaron Rodgers MVP caliber year, right? Fantastic. He's having the best numbers he's seen in a while. Fantastic. 40 touchdowns, 13 picks, 4,200 yards, 70% completion. Okay, Rodgers doesn't play that great with Green Bay this last year. This is our 2021 year here for the Seahawks for Russell Wilson. Doesn't play that great. Joins new team. We're all expecting fantastic results and completely shits the bed. I'm just saying maybe just like Russell Wilson was cashed when he moved there, maybe Aaron Rodgers is cashed. Maybe it's not him not being motivated. Maybe he's just cashed.
Pull up Rodgers' stats. Just pull them up. Just pull them up because I guarantee there's no comparison between the two.
They're also two different styles of players. Russell Wilson is a mobile quarterback. He's a dual threat quarterback. Rodgers is more of a pocket passer.
Okay.
It's
looking really similar.
Really?
40. Hold on. Yes. 4,100 passing yards. Russell Wilson had 4,200 that year. He blew up. 37 passing touchdowns. Russell had 40. He had less interceptions than Russell. Absolutely. Quarterback rating there. 40, just like Russell.
No,
Russell
I want to look at the bad year.
8% completion.
I want to look at the bad year.
8.9.
I want to look at the bad year.
In this last year,
the bad year.
Played like
I don't want to look at the good year. I want to look at the bad year. The bad year, he blows him out of the water. Just blows him out of the water.
Really? Let's look. 3,700 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, 12 picks.
Yep.
You're going to be wrong again,
Denver this year. What are you doing Denver this year?
You're talking about the bad year, right?
Yeah.
Here's the bad year.
11.
You're going to let me speak? Here's the bad year. 3,100 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, 6 picks, higher quarterback rating than Rodgers did. This is the bad year in Broncos. I'm saying what you could get out of Rodgers is he's just finished, and maybe it's a bad year upcoming for him.
You're wrong. You're flat out wrong. He was disinterested playing for the Packers last year. He's going back to Nathaniel Hackett, where he had his best year ever. Nathaniel Hackett was the offensive coordinator in his last MVP year. It's the same system he ran in Green Bay with better talent, with a real defense. They're going to take off. Matter of fact, they are going to win the Super Bowl next year. You made me say
Grump. Hot take from Grump. Jets Super Bowl champions.
With Rodgers. Let me ask you this. This is exactly what the Jets general manager tried to sell Rodgers on too. But let me ask you this. Hey, Grumpy, let's get your attention. Does 39-year-old quarterbacks usually get better?
He's good. He's not every 39-year-old quarterback. He's not every 39-year-old quarterback.
The age is like fine wine, TJ. The age is like fine wine. Just gets
not
better
like
and
vinegar,
better
like your hairline.
Oh, Grumpy, you're already bald. I don't know why you got to make these low jokes just because you're losing in an argument. It's just what you do.
I'm not
It's like
losing an argument.
it's
You're
like
just
a typical
here's the thing,
childhood
here's the thing,
bully.
you don't know what you're
Oh,
talking about.
I can't
wrong.
win an argument based on merits and based off the
I did.
numbers that I still thought were
You
correct. So
want to extrapolate
I've got to
facts.
go ahead and
Well,
get all
let's see.
pissy.
Here's
I
the
will
thing.
say, TJ,
Russell
I will say
Wilson-
one thing.
Go
I was
ahead,
going to say, I will say one thing, to think that you can compare Aaron Rodgers, who had literally no one to throw the ball to this year, compared to Russell Wilson's last bad year with the Seahawks. I mean, it's not fair. You can't do that.
Russell Wilson, his numbers weren't great with the last year with the Seahawks, right? And everybody thought
he's
he
a
was going to
shitty
be
quarterback.
back. He was going to be back. He was going to be back to playing like the old Russell Wilson, just like people are thinking Rodgers is going to be back to playing with the old Aaron Rodgers.
He can't throw the ball anymore.
Maybe there's a possibility that the old Rodgers is done.
Okay. What did I say game one last year when I watched Russell Wilson?
Russell doesn't have it.
He can't throw the ball anymore. I've never said that about Rodgers. Rodgers still throw the ball. He can still throw the ball.
He always has.
I mean, you're crazy. Like I said, you're crazy. There's no comparison between those two. Russell Wilson has never won a league MVP ever. Rodgers has won, I don't know how many, 3, 4. I don't know how many he's won. Now, here's where Aaron Rodgers fails in the big moment. But as far as the team getting into the playoffs and going a couple rounds, absolutely.
So you're expecting at least 4,200 passing yards from Rodgers, 40 touchdowns. You're expecting old Rodgers, maybe 5 picks, 40 passing touchdowns, 4,200 passing yards. That's what you're expecting from Rodgers. Is that so I understand your expectations from him.
No,
here's my expectation. He'll have a better year than he did last year. Absolutely.
What do you expect? He threw for like 3,500 passing yards, just like Russell did before he left. So you're expecting him to be back around the 4,000 range, just so I understand this.
Okay, I'm not giving you numbers. I'm going to say, I'm not going to give you numbers. You have this mythical thing, numbers mean something. They don't, because if your team's getting blown out every week and you pick up a bunch of garbage yards, that don't mean shit, AKA Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson was not getting blown out of the waters in 2020.
Absolutely. They were terrible. Seattle was terrible. That's why they moved him. They were in rebuild.
2021 was when he struggled. The 2020 year when he played well, they were not terrible when he put up great numbers.
I'm not talking about when he was good. That was years ago, 3 years ago. I mean, why don't you say 10 years ago he was really good and let's try to transform that to now? No, Russell Wilson can't throw the ball anymore. Aaron Rodgers can. He had no weapons. Okay. Alan Lazard and Christian Watson, those were his weapons. He lost Devontae Adams, who he was his go-to guy, who he became league MVP just throwing the ball to Devontae Adams. He has those type of weapons now with the Jets. I'm not concerned at all. It's a huge upgrade from the Jets. It takes the Jets from here to here. How many games did the Jets lose where if they had average, and I mean average quarterback play, they would have won? How many games did they lose by less than 5 points? Why don't you look that up, hotshot?
We shall see, Grumpy. I will tell you this. I don't think they're a top 4 team. Maybe I'm presenting the possibility that Rodgers might not be the same quarterback he was during that. Hold on. Wait a second. He might not be the same quarterback he was during when he was 37 years old in his last MVP caliber season. Maybe he's not the same QB.
You know who you sound like? Those goofs on ESPN who's saying Max Kellerman, Brady's going to fall off the cliff. This was at 38 years old.
Brady fell off the cliff last year.
He absolutely did not. He had no weapons and no offensive line.
He threw for over 5,000 yards the year before. And last year, no weapons. Okay,
all the injuries. He had no offensive line.
Mike Evans is not a weapon. You just said he had no weapons. That's not right. No offensive line and no weapons are 2 different things.
Mike Evans drops wide open passes in on his hands.
Chris Godwin's not a weapon.
Chris Godwin was hurt. He was still hurt last year, coming off knee ACL surgery that he had in what was it? December. He was not the same guy. He was not the same guy. Sorry, not the same guy.
Brady's not the same guy. Come on.
He didn't fall off the cliff. Their offensive line was abysmal. They replaced they had an injury to Ryan Jensen. They replaced their 2 guards, and the left tackle has now been cut because he sucked so bad. They have one guy on the offensive line. Their line blew last year. He lost Gronk. He lost Antonio Brown. He had an injured Godwin, and he had the stat stuff for number 13 on the other side. He catches a shitload of passes when the game's out of hand. That's when he's
That's
real
going to
good.
be a Hall of Fame wide receiver.
And no running back.
You
No
understand
running back.
Michael Evans is
Jones
a Hall
as
of
well.
Fame, right?
Michael Evans, I don't think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
He'll be in the Hall of Fame.
He's a stat stuffer. He's a stat stuffer. When
Okay.
they needed a big play in their Super Bowl run, who did they go to? Did they go to Mike Evans? No, sir. It was Gronk, Antonio Brown. Those are the guys he went to. It was not Michael Evans. Just not.
Michael Evans is the only wide receiver in the history of the game to have his first
I
8
don't care.
seasons over
I don't
touchdown
care.
receiving.
I don't care. I don't care. He's a stat stuffer. That's what he is. They're down. The Succaneers are down 15, 20 points in the fourth quarter. They just throw the ball up to the stat stuffer. That's what he is. That's what he is. Great. And here's the thing. Great person, by the way. Number one top-notch guy. He's never a guy that I said, man, Mike Evans, he's a guy you got to watch out for. Not the case.
Well, X, let me ask you. Do you think the Jets are winning the Super? Who would figure the Jets would cause such a rift? Now that Grumpy doesn't have Tom Brady to cheer for, now he's going big on the Jets, just like his childhood team. Let me ask you, X, do you think the Jets are winning the Super Bowl?
Well, I want to say something first. It's funny. I think you need to have a counter or a clicker up in the top left with the number of times Grumpy brings up Tom Brady or Lamar Jackson. You need to have a clicker so we can keep track on the podcast
All the time.
I do not think that they're going to win the Super Bowl. I think Kansas City's probably the favorite to win the Super Bowl again this year.
Kansas City will not repeat.
I'm just saying they're the favorite to win the Super Bowl this year. That's all I'm saying. I mean, they kept a lot of their guys that they had from
the
last year.
favorite to win the Super Bowl this year is Cincinnati.
Cincinnati Bengals. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
I think if their offensive line wasn't banged up,
They added Orlando Brown Jr., which is a huge piece
From
Yep.
Kansas City.
Yep.
I feel like the Bengals are a team to watch out for this season.
I'll tell you one thing I don't like. I don't like the single bye. I think you might as well just make it 8 playoff, make it 8 teams in the playoffs. That's what they want to do anyway. No buys, just whatever, name it. I mean, they come up with the COVID excuse why we had to add extra teams, which was horseshit. They want it for the money, so they had an extra playoff game. That's all they did.
You know what I will say? I think one team to make a dark horse run at winning the Super Bowl,
Denver Broncos.
Pittsburgh Steelers, baby, and Kenny Pickett bringing it to Super Bowl. Yeah, Kenny Pickett, Grumpy. Anyway,
I think, here's the thing. If they make a couple of good moves, if they have a good draft, I could see them back in the playoff picture. I think the job that Mike Tomlin did last
he's
year
a great coach.
was probably his best coaching job ever.
He's a great coach, Hall of Fame caliber coach.
He's good.
Yeah.
He could never beat the Patriots, ever.
Not many people can or could.
Well, they
Goo-Goo
never
said-
could.
Grumpy, did you ever have to?
Stephen Porter, they could never beat the Patriots.
I don't know if he's still watching right now, but Gungun said here, Grumpy, did you ever have to break up a vicious battle, either mental or verbal, mental or physical, between TJ and Son X when they were younger?
Yeah, they were always scrapping, the two of them.
I
X
think he was too vicious.
would be like Muhammad Ali, and TJ would be like, the big dancing bear. And X would be peppering him with verbal assaults. Now, if TJ ever grabbed X, it was over.
It was done.
But-
Game over.
I remember the time he was banging him up the side of the house. I'm like, what the hell is that noise? And I go outside. He didn't like the way X was mowing the lawn, so he's taking him and banging his body up against the house. I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
You thought it was an earthquake.
Earthquake!
Shay sent this to us. You could see him say here, now this is in a game with Cuba where they're up 9-2. I'll let you watch here. Uh-oh. You got hit on the hand, Grumpy.
That's
Juan Arenado.
Nolan Arenado, yeah.
And he said, I'm good. Well, let's hope those x-rays come back negative. Taken out of the game after this.
That's right, St. Louis. How you feeling about it?
Wouldn't it just be a shame if he would have broken a few fingers in that hand? All over this very important tournament. This extremely crucial tournament that needs to be played.
Yeah, I just don't understand.
Right off the finger. Wouldn't it just be a
Nothing.
shame if he had a hairline fracture? Wouldn't it just be another freaking cautionary tale to freaking stop this meaningless, stupid fucking game?
Oh,
Actually, I heard how they're going to make it so they don't get injured. They're going to wear boxing gloves up there from now on, up at bat. Extra padding for their hands.
why don't they just have him play MLB 23 as
Yeah,
opposed to
just
actually
there you
getting
go.
on the field?
Yep.
And there he was, taken out. Gonna
I
get
think it's
looked
more of
at.
a precautionary thing.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Sometimes you get like a small fracture, and it's not like, holy shit, it's the end of the world. And I pray that he is not hurt. It's just another freaking casualty saying, I'm good. But another casualty. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm good. Maybe he just has a really high pain tolerance. Seeing guys break toes, break fingers like that, and they're like, oh, yeah, I'm good. No worries. And I don't really realize until they get the x-ray sent to them. So hopefully Nolan Arenado is okay. Thank you, Shay, for sending that to us. Frank says, hello, TJ, Grumpy Old Man Son X, and my favorite audience. What's up, Frank?
How's it
He
going?
said, is everybody's bracket torn to shreds yet? Yes.
I have a feeling
I'm sure they are based off of what's been transpiring. Absolutely. By the way, Stephen Porter said, he said he's still watching. He said, you could tell Grumpy that I hope him and the Patriots rot in hell.
Oh, wow.
And not only the Patriots, but also you, Grumpy.
Wow.
Looky there. Stephen might be
I-
getting eight now.
I think I struck a nerve.
Drew L. Grumpy.
People don't realize the most underrated signing of the offseason was Mike White to the Dolphins. Why? Because Mike White is just a pocket passer, Tua. So there's a no downgrade at backup quarterback position. I mean, you have to think that Tua is going to get hurt again next year, don't you?
Yes.
Yes.
The likelihood of him at least missing 1 or 2 weeks, very high.
Now, how much of an upgrade is Mike White over? And I think it was a smart sign by Mike White going there. But how much of an upgrade is Mike White over Teddy Bridgewater? That's my question.
Very marginal.
Braxton Berrios went down there. So Mike White is recruiting guys to go from the Jets to the Dolphins. Now, I think if things break right, Montreal's in the mix too. But Miami is another team that could contend for a Super Bowl if things break right. I mean, their offense is really good. They fortified the offensive line. I think they got Jalen Ramsey. I love what the Dolphins have done this offseason.
Biggest thing, staying healthy.
Can Noodles stay healthy? That's it.
No.
That's it.
Greg Prado, Grumpy.
TJ, the audio version of Dynasty with yours truly narrating has been safely delivered to your Twitter messenger. I'm serious as a heart attack.
I saw that, Greg. I will be now downloading it, Greg.
Who is this? Is
Grumpy,
this
you know who this is?
No, this is great.
And thank you, by the way, Greg. Thank you. Many thanks. Very appreciative. Thank you. But Grumpy, do you know who this is?
Son X.
Oh! For all you those who are wondering what Son X looks like, imagine this is what Son X did look like as a child. Absolutely, this was Son X. Oh,
With his little
kind of the way he
snacks in the
speaks kind of strikes me like what Son X does too.
I'm tired of you pricks! I am so freaking mad! I am so freaking mad! I mean, you guys have officially made me lose my marbles!
I'd love to lose my marbles.
I'm going to tell you what, that is really not much of a stretch from X.
I know it's not.
When he was playing those videos, I mean, that kid was nice. I mean, the vitriol that was spewed that I had to listen to, I can't tell you how many times he broke controllers, banging them all the time. Like, it's embarrassing.
It fell out of my hand.
15 times.
Yeah, fell on the ground.
Oh. No. But you know something? The warden came up with the biggest slam of all on X. He was complaining, it's this, it's that. And the warden says, maybe you're just not a really good player. And X, his mouth hung open for a minute or two, and drool came out and run down the side of his cheeks. He couldn't believe that the warden gave him that brutal slam. It was perfect. Do you remember that, X?
Yeah.
I do remember that. Yep.
James F. said here, Your Honor, final episode this season.
Yeah, no, I watched.
Frank's saying, wow, Rangers up big. What, Grump?
Yeah, I watched a couple of those shows. I wasn't into it. Sorry.
Guys, I recommend the movie The Whale, but not Tar. They could have taken out an hour of the movie to get a real story.
I haven't seen either. I was surprised that Kate Blanchett did not win Best Actress for Tar, though. I heard she was outstanding in that. And, the girl who won for Everything Everywhere All at Once is all right. I mean, I just didn't think that movie was that great.
Meeple Parm says, is Phil's facts trolling, or does he actually believe the shit he tweets? He's a lunatic. He's a maniac. He's a maniac. That's honestly the only way I can describe him. An absolute maniac at times.
He's trolling.
I don't know he's trolling. If it is, it's a deep troll. I'm not even aware of, Grumpy. Goon says here, not sure if this comment made it last night, but here it goes again. Yeah, it made it in, Goon, but Grumpy, I'll let you answer. Grumpy, I boldly declare Hextall as 1994 as piss poor as your main man, Tristan Jarry, in 2023.
I never saw Hextall giving up 7 or 8 goals a game, or 4 goals on 7 shots, or, the next game coming out and giving up, 8 goals. He sucks. I'm sorry. How many games can you get yanked from? Hextall was done at that point in time. I mean, Jarry's still a young guy. He just sucks. Jarry is worse than Hextall.
Rob says, good evening, gentlemen.
What's up?
Andrew L. says, Adam Thielen to the Panthers. X, what do you think about that?
I think that's a great pickup by the Panthers. They need wide receiver help. He's a vet. There you go. Perfect.
I mentioned that when they they traded all those pieces away. They traded away DJ Moore. I said, Adam Thielen's a guy out there that I would go after if I'm the Panthers.
Yep. What I like about Adam Thielen, particularly if you're having a rookie quarterback come in, I don't know if he's going to start from day one, but you have somebody who's a chain mover, a veteran. The same thing with Hurst, bringing him in. I still think they need more wide receivers.
Sure.
The Chenault kid from Jacksonville a couple of years ago, he didn't really pan out. Maybe he gets, a fresh start under Frank Reich. Matt Rule was terrible there. I think it set the organization back. To me, the biggest issue that I have is who's going to be the quarterback they draft. Right now, Schefter is saying that Young is the favorite. Bryce Young is the favorite to be the first overall pick. I don't know. I mean, you read articles, when they come out and say, well, now we can decide on which quarterback we want. And I'm like, dude, if you're making that trade, you should already know who you want. You could have traded up to number 3. They say there's 3 guys they're looking at, one of the 3 quarterbacks. Why the hell did you trade up to 1 then? If there were 3 guys you wanted and you feel they're really close, you just should have traded up to 3, kept some assets. Because Arizona would have been willing to trade down from 3. They already have their quarterback. They're not looking to get rid of Kyler Murray. So, I mean, Indianapolis definitely wants a quarterback at 4, but I mean, you could have traded up to 3 and saved what? Maybe a first-round draft pick, or a couple of 2s, or maybe a wide receiver. I mean, I just question that when they say, well, we don't know who we want. That's just kind of confusing to me. If you're making a bold move like that, you should know who you're targeting.
I was going to say, Grump, I think Andy Dalton will be the week 1 starter for the Panthers.
I don't have a problem with that.
And I do think you're right. I think having a veteran wide receiver, a guy who has the ability to run those short routes, a short-handed guy, helps establish some confidence, helps teach him and coach him along the way a bit. I'm more in favor of C.J. Stroud at the moment than Bryce Young, but still a long way to go. Shay said here, I went to the Mets spring training tonight and got a bunch of minor leaguers autographs, and a few knew who I was. Holy shit!
Again, there's Shay.
Connected.
Everyone knows Shay. Everyone knows Shay.
I'm pretty sure X even knew who Shay was before he joined the podcast. So Shay is connected.
I knew Shay.
He talked to me about Shay today before the show.
Holy shit.
I even said to Grumpy, I said, I wonder what game she went to this week.
There you go.
Shay also said, I wished one of the prospects / minor leaguers a happy birthday, and then everybody started singing happy birthday.
Here's the thing. She's really knowledgeable. She makes sure she does studies up on these people. She ingratiates herself with them.
Mhm.
Okay. To make it seem like, oh, look at this young lady really cares about me. She knows everything about me. What can I do for you? That's how you make connections. That's why Shea is the man, so to speak.
I think Shea may be the players' champion.
The
instead of
players'
people
champion,
being the
yes.
players' champion.
There it is.
Yes.
She also said, other things happen to me, but I don't need to bore you guys. No, you don't bore us with the stories. We like to hear it. And Shay says, TJ, what would it take to shave that awful looking mustache?
Woo-hoo-hoo.
Shay over here throwing shade.
Pile of shaving cream and a razor. That's all.
Gungun said, Some X, would you accept wearing a Zorro mask to hide your identity?
So at this point, I'll take any mask.
Oh.
I'm about to just cut some holes in a brown paper bag and put that.
Oh, then you could be like the old ain'ts.
Honestly, if that fit your head, do that.
I'd
Wear
have
a
to
brown
get a
paper
decently
bag.
big size bag, but yeah.
That was like,
Holy sh-
TJ, I want you to pull up a picture of the unknown comic.
The unknown what?
The unknown comic. He was on the Gong Show years and years and years ago. The unknown comic. Maybe this is who Son X is. If we could put the picture up and see and say, hey, is this Son X?
Okay, I'll get it pulled for you in a second, Grumpy.
Yeah, the unknown comic was on the Gong Show by Chuck Barris. And he told corny jokes, but they were hilarious. There you go. Does that look like Son X?
What we should do is this. Son X should wear a brown paper bag in every single show. Son X's homework assignment is to say who gets the brown paper bag for the week or for the show. And that is a person, player, or team that has performed so poorly that they should be ashamed of themselves and put the brown paper bag on. That is what X should do from now on. That's the idea, X. Brown paper bag it, and your job is every week or every show to have one person who's done something unbelievably dumb. You know, like they do like the minute wrap up, and like at the end of the show, they do the mistakes and the omissions. X, your job now is to have who has screwed up beyond all belief and who gets the brown paper bag treatment.
Why do I feel TJ will win that award every week?
No, not of us.
I just think you
Sports
said
world,
guys
Grumpy.
who make mistakes. I'm going to say that's TJ.
It's in the sporting world, Grumpy.
Well,
Don't worry, I'll make sure to mention TJ. I'll put TJ on the bag somewhere.
So
the
like for
TJ
example-
Memorial Bag Award.
was that?
The TJ Memorial Bag of the Week Award.
Oh, that's it. No. What I mean by, for example, you know, like you could have done like back in the day, Grumpy. And this is an old NCAA clip that I know we're done with the basketball segment, but this is always fantastic. This is back. Do you remember the
no.
God, yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I remember
I
this.
feel bad for this. Oh, look at this guy. Don't fall.
I thought he tore his
Don't
ACL.
fall. Don't fall. Oh, shit. Oh, my God. I feel so bad for that kid. Oh, my God. Oh.
Ooh, look at the feed, though.
He gets the assist. He's like Isaiah Thomas back there, or Magic Johnson.
Blows out his knee and still gets the assist. I think it's better than Kobe when he played with the when he shot free throws with the torn Achilles.
Is he still playing?
I'm sure he is.
Well, I just want to know if he lost any weight.
Hold on. Let's look up his
Because I
numbers.
hope that he has. Just health-wise, I hope that he has. I mean, I don't even know.
Number 50, John Fisher. Hold on, I'll look it up.
I mean, because I'd like to see if they have any video of him, you know, dropping, you know, a couple of pounds. I mean, just health-wise, I hate watching things like that. You know, I find that I don't like watching anything where people fall, like on cement. I'm like, oh, like makes, I don't know, I get like an unpleasant feeling below the waist. You know what I mean? It's like, oh no, I don't like that.
As you're smiling.
You tell me if you think he's still playing, my friend.
He looks thinner than last year. He is in the back of the picture. But still.
He's got a whole bunch of people covering him up. He's the tallest guy on this team by about a full head.
Yeah, but he's probably on steps or something. They probably have something. I don't know. How much does he weigh now?
Yeah, I'm going to say he's not on steps.
7 foot 360 still.
Oh, God. Any more films from this year? Where is he?
He's in the very back.
I didn't see him. Oh, what's his name?
He is averaging 3.1 points a game and 2 rebounds a game. He's doing pretty well there, Grumpy.
I'd like to see some more highlights of him playing this year, though, to be honest with you.
They call him nicknamed Big Koozie.
No, it's Cozy. C-O-Z-Y is Cozy.
Cozy, I thought had I thought Cozy had 2 O's.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Jiminy Christmas. Cozy. C-O-Z-Y.
Cozy has 2 O's, so I fucked it up. Okay, Cozy. The big Cozy.
Bob Cousy was spelled C-O-O-S-E-Y. That was Bob Cousy. The big Cozy.
Wow!
Look at him.
Let him go, Grumpy.
Look at him. Look at that shot.
3. Anyway, that's a good old one. That's a good old throwback.
I hope he loses some weight because he's probably not going to be an NBA player. So I hope he's getting his education and, you know.
Rob G says, hello, Islander fans. What's up, Rob? Kyle Shanahan could make TJ look like a good quarterback, says Joseph C. Damn.
That might be a bridge too far.
I would agree. The Brock Purdy comment was meant to be satire. Oh, well, damn. I didn't know. There are some fans who truly believe that Brock Purdy is the guy.
Yep. That's right.
Joseph C. said here, I'm sure Astro fans are pissed too. They just lost Jose Altuve for 8 to 10 weeks because of a barred 99-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, well, we talked about that. Rangers big again tonight. Talked about that. They're on a roll right now. It's
Luke Bard? Was that Luke Bard who hit him in the hand?
I don't know.
I
don't know. I've paid absolutely no attention to the World Baseball Classic.
Frank Grumpy.
He says, I'm going to the game April 8th versus the Flyers. We play the Flyers again this year. Well, we played them 8 times this year. My daughter is hooked after the Red Wings game.
Nice.
Flyers suck.
Shay Grumpy.
He could have broken a bone at spring training. Video of Turner home run has more views in like 24 hours than the Judge 62 home run. It's growing the game. Fans are interested. Shay.
I don't know. And I'm psyched, man. It's Jerry Garcia bobblehead night.
Wow. The Grateful Dead and the New York Islanders. Who thought they'd come together in a promotional thing? I don't know.
I'm doing Grumpy.
If the Islanders finished strong but missed the playoffs by a point or two, was the year a success, or would the situation merely stink? It's a failure. If you don't at least advance to the Eastern Conference Finals, it's a failure.
I'd agree.
You made the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years in a row, supposedly Stanley Cup or bust, don't make the playoffs. The next year, you don't make the playoffs again, it's a failure. Or even if you make the playoffs and get beat in the first round, that's a failure.
I agree, Grump. I agree. Absolutely. We've got here, let's see.
We will ask that question.
By Joseph C.
Diaz doesn't completely tear his patella tendon in a spring training game. They aren't celebrating like that in a meaningless spring training game against the Cardinals B squad. True.
Yep. Yeah, this is Luke Bard. Holy shit. I did not know Luke Bard was out there pitching for him. Luke Bard, I knew him back when he had the same injury as Noah Syndergaard with that PCL or in the shoulder or something like that. Nice guy. Good to see him playing well. Yes, the World Baseball Classic is fantastic. If Luke Bard wins one, yeah, I'm all on board now, Grumpy.
I knew you would be.
Continuing along there, Drew L. Grumpy.
TJ, pull up a picture of the FAU's coach's bed and then pull up a picture of Rick Astley.
Astley.
Maybe it's
Rick rolled. I'll pull up. Let's see here. Well, let's continue reading, please.
Yeah, okay. Empire Frank from Empire says stink, stank, stunk. Do 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 do. Wow, Altuve. Yes, we said that. Okay, Shay goes. I think like 46% of households in Japan were watching the World Baseball Classic. Other country fans love it and are really into it. I could care less what other countries think.
Well, I think they want to pump the product up in other countries to be interested. I think that's what it is.
There's no way Major League Baseball is ever having a team in Japan or in Europe.
Well, they might do what the NFL does. They might do what the NFL does and go fly over there and play games.
It's different if you have, and it won't work in the NFL either. It doesn't work in hockey because you have to play so many games over there then you come back. You can't go back and forth across continents.
Those
can't do
teams
it.
would suck ass. You could put the best players in the generation out there, but because they're going to have so many consistent switches of time, they're not going to be successful.
What I'm saying though is the company only cares about selling merchandise. They care about ticket sales and selling merchandise. If they can sell more merchandise overseas by playing 1-2 games over there and get people hooked on the sport, why would they not?
The reason why Japanese people are watching is because the Japanese team is playing in
Right.
the tournament. And
Well, it's Shohei Ohtani, yeah.
that's it.
No,
That's
it's the
only reason
Japanese
they're watching.
team. As soon as
They're not
Japan,
watching to watch the USA team play.
as soon as Japan gets eliminated, you're going to see viewership drop down to 0.
Exactly. Same thing if the United States team was eliminated. Well, people are like, okay, I'm not watching.
You look at like the World Cup. When the U.S. is in it, the U.S. numbers are up for viewership. As soon as they're eliminated, important.
No,
Same
the
thing.
final was huge. A lot of people tuned into the final, more so than the U.S. games.
Goon says, I have to thank both the Islanders Never Say Die and TJ and the Grumpy Old Man shows for introducing me to 2 phrases I had no clue about beforehand. Mukbang and soy boy. Mucho gracias.
God. Continue along there, Grumpy.
Andrew L says, Nimmo now week to week with an injury in spring training. He said he'd be back before the start of the regular season. I
That's
hope
what he
he
said.
is.
By opening day, Grumpy
Yeah.
Joseph C.
Joseph C says the sad thing is they pulled ML Major League players who were playing in the World Baseball Classic Championship or whatever the hell it's called, and I don't even know the name. Here's the thing: you know how insignificant it is. I don't even know the name of what it's called, and quite a number of them said they would rather win the WBC than the World Series. If I had a guy like that on my team, he's being traded.
Well,
Like,
here's how I think of it. It's the same thing in international soccer. A lot of these guys would rather win a World Cup than they would win a league title.
World Cups are played once every 4 years. I was about to say, it makes it a little bit different. Like the World Baseball Classic's played every year, right?
Well,
I
I have
don't-
no idea.
I don't think it's
I don't
played
think so.
every year. I don't think it is.
Is it every 4 years?
I don't
It
know.
might be like that. I'm not sure.
Maybe it's every 2 years. Like I said, it's so inconsequential.
Every 4 years.
Every
World
4
Baseball
years.
So it's like the World Cup. It's the same thing as the World Cup. To a lot of the
Imagine the
players
World
other
Cup.
than the U.S.
Imagine the World Cup, but a quarter of the teams play baseball. A quarter of the nations play baseball compared to soccer.
I'm
Or
saying to
compared
a
to
lot of other countries, they care more about winning something for their country rather than a team.
Great. Guess what? If that's the case, soccer too, you have a million different leagues, all at different variations and different levels. With baseball, you have the MLB, the Japanese League. That's it.
Oh, you have the Dominican leagues. You do have those.
The Mexican
Okay.
League also.
Mexican League, the Dominican League. Okay, sure. Like
You know,
with,
those-
with European football, you've got the French League is a good league. You've got the Premier League, which is a good league. You've got La Liga. You got the Bundesliga. You've got the Serie A. You've got the Portuguese League. There's so many good top tier leagues. With here, there's one. Everybody else is significantly below.
Well,
No,
the thing is,
different
this is
world.
for some of these players. It's the only time they get to actually represent their country for their sport, if that makes sense.
Great. Everybody that plays in the Mexican League and plays the Dominican, you can go ahead and play. Go ahead. Win a World Baseball Classic. Don't care. It's not the World Cup. It never will be the World Cup.
No, it won't. I
To
agree.
think that
But
this
I
has
understand.
never happened-
I understand what X is saying, though. He's saying, them winning for the country is more important than doing your job.
Jesus.
I mean, you're not getting paid a bunch of money to play in the World Baseball Classic. You're
Uh.
getting paid the money to play, Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
It's
Thanks
like
for
for
the
the USA
clarification.
men's team. If they're all playing in the MLS, sure, you love the World Cup because all of these guys who are not good enough to play in all the top tier leagues are getting a chance to punch up and play top tier players. Certainly it is. I don't know, though. The World Cup world football is played in every single country. Baseball is not played in Iceland. Baseball is not played in Norway. Baseball is not played at all. Okay, Great Britain. How did that baseball team look out there? The countries that produce good baseball players are like this. The countries that produce good world football players are like this because every nation plays it.
True. I agree.
Different.
Can I just make a comment on the Barry Trotz effect on the Nashville Predators?
Sure.
They got shut out today, so they're scoring goals just like they did here when he was with the Islanders.
He's not in charge yet, Grumpy. Not until next year.
His presence hangs over the organization like an anvil, like an empty net goal.
Here, Drew says here, some MLB players actually think the world. Oh, fuck. More people say
I don't want a guy like that on my team.
Neither do I.
Because it says, well, hey,
bias. Maybe you could focus on the World Baseball Classic when you're not playing for us.
Well, you're going to get a WBC deduction on your salary. Because you know what that tells me? It says, okay, well, you're seeing it. These guys are playing for, and I just wonder if there's any U.S. players. I bet they're not U.S. players. I bet they're players for other countries. Who just said, I want to play in this. I'm saying, well, then you're not getting paid by it. You get hurt, you're going broke.
That's already how it's written, Grump. I don't care about that. You should be, fuck. It's like saying, hey, it's not the World Cup. It's not the World Cup. It's not the World Cup. I don't know how many, I can understand the World Cup. Every country plays it. Every single country produces soccer and athletes and world football players. Not every country plays baseball.
Is it the
You
World
think
Cup?
France are playing baseball?
Is it the World Cup?
I think, actually the World
It's
Baseball.
it's the World Cup.
The World Cup of
It's
baseball.
it's actually bigger than the World Cup.
That's true.
It's on ESPN 8, the Ocho.
I wonder how the Chilean leagues look for baseball.
I'm just saying, from the player standpoint, I can understand why some of them think that way, especially if it's, let's say it's people who aren't from the U.S., foreign people playing in the MLB. It's not like they're representing their country by playing in the MLB. This is the only shot that they have to do that. And I think that's why maybe it means more to some of them as opposed to the people who are from the U.S. Well, they're like, well, I represent New York. I'm from New York. I play for the New York team. Therefore, it's like a win for me if we win the World Series.
The World Cup has such a rich and illustrious history. Okay. The Olympic soccer is a fraction of what World Cup.
U23.
What?
It's U23. It's people who are under 23 play for the Olympic soccer teams.
Yeah.
They don't have anybody who's over 23.
Yeah, TJ.
You're playing for your country. You're playing for your country. That hasn't
The
changed.
thing is, it's not as good talent wise.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Maybe we could just have some more injuries.
Frank,
More injuries for meaningless tournament, the World Baseball Classic. I'm sticking with my point. Frank says here, yeah, the South Americans are diehard patriots to their country.
I'm going to tell you what, not just South Americans, every country except for this country that we live in are loyal diehard for their countries. You see it in every single event. If you ever watch in a World Cup game or any of these things, you see those players singing, full-throated, singing their national anthems before games. Us, our guys are picking their nose, they're kneeling, they're spitting, they're scratching themselves. They don't care. But other countries absolutely believe in nationalism without that.
Shay said, just because you don't care about it doesn't mean that other countries' fans or anyone else doesn't care.
Oh, see?
Let me ask you this. What does the viewership look like on the World Baseball Classic compared to the World Cup?
Okay, there's a difference. The World Cup has a lot more teams than the World Baseball Classic has, a lot more countries than the World Baseball Classic has.
When it gets down to the finals, I mean, what do you think? What do you think there? The World Cup has more viewership than the Super Bowl
because it has way more teams in it than it has way more
in
teams
the final. In the final,
the final had more viewership than the Super Bowl had.
Was that?
The World Cup final had way more viewership than the Super Bowl had. Way more.
That's my point. One game.
This is watched around the world. It's watched around the world. It's not just a United States sport.
I'm not from Argentina, and I'm not. Guess what? I wasn't from Argentina, and I'm not from France. I was just a third party viewing it. The World Cup has a rich and illustrious history about it that makes it such a prestigious award. The World Baseball Classic will never be that.
Okay, here's something. How many states here in the United States don't have football teams and people don't care about football who live here in the United States?
You're talking about American football?
Talking about American football. Who wouldn't tune into the Super Bowl?
Everybody, it's a social thing here. Most people tune into the Super Bowl.
I think if you don't have an NFL team, I think numbers are different in different markets. I think it changes depending, just like anything. when your team is in the game, the market's going to be much greater represented.
Do want to talk a little hockey here because we did say we are going to talk about the playoff push, the playoff race. Man, oh man, things are heating up. The Islanders, 80 points, 11 games remaining. They're at the top of that consortment of teams making a playoff push. The Penguins, 78 points, 13 games remaining. Panthers, 77 points, 13 games remaining. It is going to be a freaking dogfight to the very last game amongst these three teams.
That's it. It's going to be those three teams. Like I said, the other teams shit themselves the last couple of weeks. Islanders, Penguins, Panthers. I was saying Pittsburgh's going to make it. I just don't know anymore. I think they could very easily be the last team. I think they could be third.
And they very easily can get hot and jump right over the Islanders. That's just how they play.
It's all goaltending for them. It's all goaltending. Can they keep the puck out of their net? Kind of the same thing with the Panthers. The Panthers have been really turning it on offensively, though. Maybe they're hitting their stride at the right time. Islanders just plugging along, beating the teams we need to beat. Let's see. We got a tough stretch coming up that's going to determine this. If we lose to all the teams that are ahead of us in the standings, that's a problem. Who knows? It's going to be tight, though. It's going to be these three teams competing for 2 spots to get knocked out in the first round.
Just nervous, angstful times for Islander fans, Penguin fans, and Panther fans. That's for certain. These are the three teams that everybody's going to be watching if you are in the running for a postseason spot. That's for certain. We've got here World Baseball Classic should be after season. That's how it is with the World Cup. The World Cup, right?
Well,
the World Cup's not before the season starts. The World
really,
Cup's after
it fell
World
during
Cup.
the season this year or last year. Fell
Yeah,
during.
and how did that go?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I agree. I think it should be at the end of
During
the
the season. How did that go?
It didn't go well.
Why is the World Baseball Classic held at the beginning of the year?
Maybe that's the time period where they get the most viewership for it.
The most viewership again.
They don't want to be playing in the middle of the winter.
Don't give a shit. I don't
well,
care.
You asked why it was played when it's played.
They should be played at the end of the season, not the beginning of the season.
Okay.
Maybe more injuries have to happen to prove my point and to prove that this is a dumb thing to do before season starts.
We don't want to see somebody wearing a mask with a mustache underneath going out there and galooly in some of these players.
Just going out there doing celeb pitches and blowing them off of players' hands and breaking fingers.
Somebody who had to wear 2 garbage bags over his head just to cover his 8 head to go out there. When you see like the little eye holes cut out and somewhere for his mustache, we don't want to see that.
Shay said, Robertson and Ottavino they're more than capable to close. They're no DS, but they can do it. That's my thing, though. We're saying, we got a better closers now out for the season because of this fantastic, worthwhile tournament.
Ottavino is not a closer. Never, no way, no how. Robertson has been in the past. How old is he now?
He didn't do well. Robertson's got to be 30s, right?
Absolutely. I remember when he was a setup guy for the Yankees. I think he was a closer when he was in Chicago.
37 years old.
Yeah, I mean, he's
going to turn 38 by the time the season starts.
He's not they're setup guys. They're not closers. Not even close. Sorry, Shay. You're mistaken on that one.
I haven't liked the Astros since Junior Richards.
J.R. Richards.
J.R. Richards.
Junior Richards.
Junior Richards.
Defensive back Cooper and Junior Richards.
Junior Richards.
J.R. Richards.
Say it right, Grumpy. It's Ed Luz Diaz.
Sorry.
Here it is. Now I'll pop this up on screen. I'm not sure if you had a chance to see it. Apparently, DeAndre Hopkins, asking price for DeAndre Hopkins is a second-round pick plus something else of value. Worth noting that he is due about $19.5 million in cash this next year. So it looks like the Cardinals are going into tank mode.
X, any comments on that?
He was banged up last year, wasn't he?
No.
Steroids.
Oh, that was Kyler Murray who was banged up last year.
Kyler Murray's also going to miss this year too.
Yeah,
he's not going to miss this year.
He had the torn ACL.
Why? Why should he not be playing? It didn't affect Chris Godwin, according to you. He'll be back. He'll be back in play.
When did Chris Godwin blow his knee out?
December.
Okay.
I was stunned he came back and played, even as well as he did, but he didn't have the same moves. He wasn't. You could tell he was still nursing the injury. He was still hurt. Kudos to him coming out and playing, though. I like Chris Godwin.
He got hurt in December as well, Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
December 12th.
Yeah.
They expect him to be able to return midpoint of the season.
Okay.
What I was saying, though, was I still think DeAndre Hopkins is good. I think he's still a top-tier wide receiver. I mean, he's got a lot of money there. I mean, I think for a second-round pick, though, I mean, how many more years do y'all think he has left?
2, maybe 3.
Yeah. I think
he may have already fallen off the cliff for all we know. Wide receivers, when they fall off quick.
But he was still really good last year. You forget who he was playing with. I mean, he still put up really good numbers. He played some with Kyler Murray, then he played with Colt McCoy, and then some other ham and egger after McCoy got hurt.
So he never had a quarterback, even with Kyler Murray, because he's not a quarterback.
I just know he was having issues with Kyler Murray through the couple of games they played with each other.
A lot of people seem to have problems with Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
There's a recurring issue. Remember when I told you Kyler Murray is not all that in a bag of chips?
Okay. It's not because he's not talented enough. There's a difference. It's because he doesn't want to put in the work to be as good as he can be. That has nothing to do with talent.
I do have other sports news. Now, are you guys familiar with who Spencer Lee is?
No.
Spencer Lee.
Is that her right there?
No. Spencer Lee is like one of the best collegiate wrestlers in the history of college wrestling. He had won 3 national championships. He never loses matches, even from a freshman until what he is now as a senior. He is unbelievable. Now, Spencer Lee lost in the quarterfinals to the 4th best wrestler, I believe, the quarters or the finals, whatever it is, to stop him from winning his 4th national championship there, the last national championship. This right here is a clip of his mother in the stands.
Oh my shit.
Honestly, I kind of feel bad for laughing at it because this is probably everything for that family for years. I mean, those wrestling tournaments are every single weekend, from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
What is Spencer Lee's size? Do you have his size?
Pull up. Yeah, I'll pull
because
up.
It's important.
He's not a huge guy.
Because as you're pulling this up, I just looked at his mom and she says, I'd rather go blind and not be able to see than have Spencer not win this championship.
I was going to ask if she got her grip strength. That's where her son got his grip strength from.
I mean, look at her.
She really those glasses.
She mauled the shit out of those glasses.
He's 5'3", 125 pounds.
Yeah. So, all right. He's just going to be begging groceries next week. I could care less that he lost. He got a college education out of it. Good for you, Spencer Lee. Mom, I know it's tough for you, but this was the end of the road for your son anyway. He's not going WWE. And until they have a Greco-Roman wrestling league around the world, his athletic career.
MMA, Grumpy.
Olympics.
Maybe he'll go MMA.
MMA.
Sure.
He's too small.
MMA.
Yeah,
They
sure.
get beat up in MMA. I don't care if you can wrestle. You're going to get beat up.
Okay, well, a lot of these wrestlers do MMA. They do mixed martial arts. His career record was 78-5.
Well, shit, he wasn't that damn good then.
Hold on. No, 78-5 over his 4 years. He lost 5.
What was Dan Gable's career wrestling record? I think he lost 1 match.
Who?
Okay. Dan Gable, the greatest wrestler of all time, amateur wrestler. Dan Gable. He was coaching. I think he went to Iowa and coached Iowa State and won. Dan Gable. Everyone knows Dan Gable. Just type in Dan G-A-B and you're going to see Dan Gable, U.S. wrestler. What was his damn record?
He was that guy who jumped off of ladders in WWE matches, TJ.
Yeah, that's it.
355, 21-5.
355, 21-5. That's a long time he was wrestling.
No, maybe this is him also coaching. Jesus.
It's probably him coaching. Yeah.
During his prep and hold on a second. including his prep and his wrestling career. He was, oh man, give me a second.
Like 178-1.
It was an unbelievable amount of wins. Give me a second here. He had a winning percentage of, that's him as a damn coach. 181-1.
Yeah. Like I said,
He
tremendous.
was 117-1 in college, I believe.
117-1. That's pretty good.
Yep.
As a coach, he was tremendous.
He
Tremendous.
was 117-1 as a wrestler.
I think he lost his last match.
Yep.
That's it. I'm
He
done.
wrestled for Iowa State Cyclones.
And I think he coached Iowa. He wrestled
Yes,
at
he
Iowa State, and he coached at Iowa. And
Spencer Lee played. He was a wrestler for Iowa.
there you go. If Dan Gable was his coach, he wouldn't have lost today, and his mom would have had her glasses today. Look at her. Is there noise? I want to hear the sound on this. That's unfortunate to see.
Do you think insurance is going to cover those?
No, I don't think so.
They fell in the parking lot. I ran away.
They fell
How
in the
many
parking
times
lot.
was she breaking those things? It wasn't like she broke them in the middle. She popped the lenses out of those bastards too, to where they've got no. You can't even tape them together.
No, they can't. You cannot tape those together.
That other lady has a hairline fracture in her arm from when she squeezed it.
Okay, I just want to listen to it.
Oh! Just like, please stop.
That's unfortunate to see, but this is what happens here. Jim. There's so much at stake here.
So much at stake. No.
I figured I figured you guys would get a kick out of that. Hopefully, the viewing audience did too, because that was ridiculous.
I think it was honestly the first object she could grab was getting destroyed, and it just so happened to be on her face.
Can we talk?
At least she didn't pull a muscleman and take her shirt off. That would have been really
lost.
ugly.
Maybe if she won, she would have ripped her shirt off. Who knows? Now, I do want to talk about this. Cristiano Ronaldo, by the way, is in the Euro squad for Portugal. That's all I'm going to say. Cristiano Ronaldo, another World Cup still in the works. He might be able to do it. Now, Germany in their Euro squad, international squad, look at who they excluded. Leroy Sané, Thomas Muller, Antonio Rudiger, as well as Gundogan.
Okay, Rudiger said he was not going. He was asked, but he said he's not going. So here's the thing. They're in a transition stage now, Germany is.
Leroy Sané's still young, though.
I don't get that.
Yeah,
But the other guys are all in their 30s. And like I said,
up there.
they're transitioning away from the older squad to younger version. That's what they're doing. They've had a couple of underwhelming performances the last couple of major tournaments, and it's time to refresh the roster. You know what they don't do? They don't let's roll it out there one more time. They don't do that stuff. Hey, you don't produce. We're going with the younger guy. That's the way it goes. There's Brock Lesnar.
Joseph sent that to us here.
He was a college wrestler as well.
Yep, and he also said, and he said, in honor of you guys talking about wrestling and the shirt that you're wearing, Grumpy, here's Brock Lesnar at 16 years old.
He's got some serious traps. I mean, serious traps.
I mean, he obviously was juiced, more juiced in a Tropicana. I think as Shell used to always say, I got more juice in me than Tropicana. And, he did, all those guys juiced back in the day. But my God, 16, already had already tatted up at 16 years old.
I wonder if that's really him at 16.
I'm sure it is.
Okay.
I'm sure it is. Have you seen him? I mean, he was a hell of a wrestler too.
He was outstanding.
He fought in the UFC also.
Yep.
Yeah.
A hell of a UFC fighter as well. Hell of an athlete. Now I want to pop this up. Get a little O-line news for us, ladies and gentlemen, before we get back to the comments. Laramie Tunsil, 3 years, $75 million contract, $50 million guaranteed, highest paid tackle in the NFL again. Look at that. Laramie Tunsil. Does he deserve it?
I bet you could buy a lot of those masks where you can smoke marijuana into.
It's funny. They had that popped up. They went from this, the falling in the draft, the highest paid tackle in the NFL. He always was extremely talented. I knew whoever was going to select him had a steal.
I don't think he's worth that. I mean, only the Texans would offer him that much money.
Well, we got to do something to keep people interested to stay there.
You think, okay, offensive tackles?
They want to protect their new quarterback that they're going to draft.
You want to know? You want to know what offensive tackles don't do? They don't put butts in seats.
Yes, they do. Offensive tackles put butts in seats, in my opinion.
Well, actually, offensive tackles, it's like one of them takes up 2 seats usually. So, but no, they don't. No, nobody says
Family butts and seats.
hey, no, that's it. Friends and family, like the WNBA, friends and family.
Joseph C says it's not the closer part so much, Shay. It's the fact that their bullpen depth is hurt significantly. Yeah, that too.
Absolutely.
I saw that too. 1980, 44 million watched the World Series. 2022, only 22 million watched the World Series.
Yeah, it's baseball is just falling off the map. I think the labor stoppages, they see the salaries, they see the squabbling, they see games going on 4.5 hours long for a 9-inning game.
Yep.
They see, that there's no action in the games. Nobody bunts, nobody moves guys around. It's just a swing or miss. It's like, no, it's like a freaking video game. That's what they want. That's what happens when you try to emulate video games in the real world. The shit just don't work. It's for children. But the children aren't allowed to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning to watch the game.
Andrell said, I think the injury argument in the World Series is kind of bullshit because Gavin Lux tore his Achilles in spring training, and now Nimmo in spring training injuries could happen at any point in the season. Okay, think about it. Look at how many teams there are playing in spring training games. And look at the players. We can name 2 players. One player tore his ACL. That's right. Gavin Lux is out for the year. And Nimmo expects to be back by opening day. But think about how many different spring training games there are. The World Baseball Classic has a handful of games from a handful of nations, only a handful of MLB players. And it's like reputable MLB players, superstars of the league are going out left and right in this tournament.
Okay, the difference for me is the fact that when you're playing a spring training game, you're playing what, 3 innings, maybe 4.
Yeah.
Your pitchers are just getting stretched out. Not saying that you're not giving 100%, but you're not, okay, if I get thrown out or I'm not trying to steal bases, it's not like it's go time. If you know what I'm saying? They're just getting in shape, getting ready for the regular season. Exhibition games mean nothing. Just like in the NFL. It's like, how long do the regulars play? They're just kind of going through the motions a little bit, just getting ready for the season. They haven't had the opportunity to get ready for the season because they're thrown into a tournament to start the year. And I think it's just hard. Yeah, I think it leads to more injuries.
These World Baseball Classic games, they're full speed. They're going 100%, whereas the spring training games is kind of like they're just going through the motions, just getting back into the swing of things. I think that's why you've seen – the Altuve injury, it's like that's a weird injury because it was an inside pitch and it hit him in the hands. That's not something that usually happens. And the other one, like we said, the Diaz injury with the torn ACL, as you guys had mentioned, if it was a spring training game, he's not celebrating like that. That injury never happens.
Right.
Now, did you guys happen to see, like we talk about easing into things. Are you guys aware what happened with Miguel Vargas this year?
No.
So in spring training for what was it, like the first 10 or 15 games, he didn't swing the bat at all.
Yes, I did see that. Yeah.
Did not swing the bat once. Just went up there, just like what it is, in the box, getting ready for what it is. Did not swing at all. Just saying, hey, I'm going to sit here. And he walked like 50% of his at-bats.
Yep. You know what that tells me?
A single pitch.
You know what that tells me? Pitchers cannot throw strikes.
Yep.
Is this Greinke pitching?
Yeah, Greinke then threw like a 58 just to fuck with him.
Well, yeah, he's not going to swing. Just throw him right over the plate.
He couldn't. I think he walks him.
That's my thing. It's like he's not swinging. Everybody knows he's not going to swing the bat. What's the worst that happens? I guess he hits a home run. You're going to walk him anyway.
Just strong. Okay, never mind. Sure, but he's not swinging a damn pitch. Yeah, he said, "Yep, I'm going to," and that's what they said. Not clear to pitch. They wanted to make sure this year. Hey, just going to go in, get used to what the pitching's like, get acclimated. That's what you can do in spring training games.
You can. I tell you what. Only the Dodgers would that fly because they're so loaded that only there would it fly.
Yeah, I think he's a top-rated prospect too, if I recall.
Their whole minor league system is great. They know how to keep a team winning year after year. Doesn't mean they're World Series good. I still think they lack a little something, toughness category, whatever it is, clutch gene. They don't have it. But I mean, for year after year, they're always one of the best teams. Great organization.
Shay Grumpy.
Well, West Coast fans can't watch games if they start at 4 p.m. Then there is time to incorporate the Eastern time. Well, you know what? You don't have to start them at 8:30.
Well, you could. I was about to say you could start. You could
8.
start as early as 7, and then for the West Coast games, they're starting at their evening time. Most times, the West Coast people who live on the West Coast are going to watch the hometown team.
They used to play World Series games during the day, particularly on the weekends. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you can have a World Series game. Why not? I'm going to tell you why not, because it interferes with college football. They're all in cahoots anyway with the TV networks. It's all about the TV money. That's why they moved the games from day games where kids could watch and become interested in the sport, where now, I mean, that used to be a big thing when I was a kid, watching the Saturday afternoon game of the week. Oh, man, it was great because you only got to see your hometown teams. There was no ESPN. There was no MLB network. There was no Major League Baseball package. It was just you got the Yankees and the Mets. That's it. You only saw Yankees and Mets games. So you did get to see the teams from both leagues. But on Saturday, you could see the Cardinals play the Giants or the Oakland A's play the Boston Red Sox. I mean, those were like, as a kid, must see, without a doubt.
Yeah. Moving along to Grumpy, Joseph C. said, Epler better be on the phone looking for a bat and a relief pitcher. Might be a starting pitcher, too, if Senga doesn't live up to the hype.
Senga won't live up to the hype.
I
think they're going backwards.
Moving along here, Rob G said, how about Sean Gabriel Peugeot last night? You gotta love it. Shay also says, this will be the closest Stroud ever gets to a playoff game, so let him enjoy it. That's a good point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing about Mike Trout? I think as us, probably the most talented baseball player of this generation.
Sure.
Would you say?
Yes.
He doesn't get the respect he deserves as being a great player. I don't think many people outside of, baseball fanatics even know who Mike Trout is.
Yep. Just played on a shitty team for so long.
Because he's never won a championship.
Barely makes the postseason or never does.
I mean, that's what happens. You could be great, the most talented player, but if you don't win something, you're not going to be regarded in the same way as other players.
I still want the Jets to get Brady over Karen Rodgers, says Frank. Woody could fly him daily back and forth to Florida.
Honestly, he could win with them also. He could. I just don't think that's happening.
The Jets still haven't signed Quentin Williams. Oof.
I thought they have signed him. I thought they absolutely signed him.
I'll have to look it up. But I'll let you read this here, Grumpy. Drew L.
If football had a world nation, Jamal Adams would be the best since he's the best in the nation. I think Drew almost sounds like he had a stroke when he was typing that comment in. So I'm going to go to the next one.
Quentin's a top priority. Please, TJ, stop. I assume talking about the Jets. Here you go. Tony G's, Grumpy.
Aaron Rodgers is 80-9 when his defense gives up less than 20 points. The Jets averaged like 18 last year. He puts them over the top. That's why they're going all in. And the defense is young. It's not like they're loaded with veterans. If you can straighten out Zach Wilson, have him sit on the bench for a couple of years, learn from Rodgers, and then take over, the Jets could be cooking with gas for a while.
They can have a dynasty.
He's still under contract for the 2023 season, but I guess that's going forward. He becomes an unrestricted free agent at 24, Quentin Williams. Okay. So he's got 1 year left on his deal. Let's see here.
Then Drew has a comment. I can tell you who's not 80-9 when their defense gives up less than 20 points. Russell Wilson. That's right.
I'm sure Russell's record was pretty good when the defense did a good job as well.
He sucks.
That's all I'm going to say.
The only thing you remember Russell Wilson was Bronco Country. Let's ride.
Let's ride.
High knees.
Andrew L says, Son X, stop playing with your Barbie dolls and get back in the game.
That's right, X. Pay attention. I'm glad we got your attention finally.
I am. You both were talking over each other, and I couldn't understand what you're saying.
Frank from Empire State says, look at Brady's stats the past 2 years. They are insane. Jets tell Green Bay to suck a nut, get Brady. He can go anywhere he wants.
Superhero X was helping out the civilian population.
That's right.
Oh, man. Pete, what happened? They lost. Drew L said, okay, either FAU is worse than I thought, or Fairleigh Dickinson is better than anybody's giving him credit for. Did they come back and win?
FAU won that game, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
FAU kind of it was exciting
Yep.
when the second half started.
Gonzaga's down by 5 at halftime.
Oh,
Why
Gonzaga.
is that a surprise to you?
They're the best. They're going all the way. They're
Gonzaga,
winning it all.
just remember that you're playing against Jamie fucking Dixon and wake up.
Hey, it's the power of the shirt, baby.
Gungun said Sun X is napping. He needs more skin in the
He needs to
game.
get more skin in the game. Whatever
Whatever
that
stupid phrase means. Oh, God. Joseph C. said, TJ, you really think that Rodgers can't put up 30 to 35 touchdowns and 4,500 passing yards next season? He played with a broken thumb and 2 rookies as primary receivers. I'm saying this. At all times, players start to slow down. Maybe that's already started for Rodgers. Okay, sure. 39-year-old Rodgers is going to keep chugging along. I'm just saying, do not expect him to be playing like he was during that MVP caliber season.
I think
Right?
he's going to do really
Garrett
well.
Wilson played well. He's no Devontae Adams.
I'm calling it bounce back year for Rodgers.
Absolutely. He's going to be comeback player of the year,
Comeback player of the year
Super Bowl MVP.
and MVP
everything.
of the league again.
I
league
think he'll play
MVP.
well. Where we talk about he doesn't have a Devontae Adams. I think Garrett
problem-
Wilson can put up big numbers.
The problem with Aaron Rodgers has never been his skill set, his ability as a player. It's the fact that he cares more about individual awards than he does Super Bowl championships.
What's up there in the head?
Yeah,
Will he be
but that
motivated?
doesn't mean that you can't be a top 3, top 4 team in the league.
Do you think he's gonna? You think all of a sudden moving is gonna completely motivate him?
I absolutely think
another Super Bowl. Yes.
Last year he was contemplating retiring, and he did the same thing again this year.
he wanted to get paid in Green Bay. That's why he threw the retirement thing out last year. He was never retiring. He was never going to leave that money on the table. He's
Okay.
going to get paid what? Another $100 million that still owed him? Would you do that? No.
Frank said, "Yeah, no doubt. Rodgers can still battle, and Wilson was done when he was traded."
Yes.
The Jets Super Bowl. Gungun says, "Grumpy, where are you hiding your crack pipe?" Thank you, Gungun. The son of a gun is wild. It makes me have to choose the exact opposite because he's just so ridiculous.
All I'm going to say is if the Jets win the Super Bowl this year, you heard it here first.
Grumpy, do you feel so confident enough to get a tattoo?
No.
No.
No. First of all,
Grumpy needs to put some skin in the game after that comment.
Exactly.
Yes, Thomas Amadeo said Jersey just waxed Tampa Bay. Jesper Bratt with the hat trick. The Rangers are hitting their stride. Absolutely, Thomas.
yeah, Tim Bay was up 2-0 in that game, and Jersey came back and took care of business. Taking care of business.
Your mouth to God's ears, grumpy old man.
There you go.
Jewel, grumpy. I'll let you read that.
Look, all I know is both of you need to stop bickering. What Rodgers can do is throw 3 picks against the worst defense in the NFL, not once, but twice. Detroit owns Karen Fraudgers.
Rogers.
Fraudgers. Okay.
Oh, man. Hit the thumbs up, says Frank. That's right. Hit the thumbs up. Absolutely.
Well, he doesn't have to play Detroit anymore.
There you go.
Rob says, I'm just waiting on the word to order that Rodgers Jets jersey.
And Joe Namath said that he said, because that number 12 has been retired by the Jets. And he's like, well, Joe Namath said, you know what? He has my blessing. If he wants to wear the 12, he can wear the 12. It was, different ownership now. So
Frank says, no number 12 for Karen. Nope. He should wear number 13 like Matt Barzal.
he'll wear number 12. They'll wheel Joe Namath out there to say, yeah, go. You'll see him on the sidelines.
I could care less about the team's struggles.
That's right. They'll have him out there. If they go to the Super Bowl, Joe Namath is going to be out there. He's going to be the one handing that trophy. I guarantee it.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Tony Cheese said, I really see Grumpy's hands on the screen when he's talking about Tom Brady.
Now,
Oh, God.
okay. Did I bring up Tom Brady today?
Tom Brady.
Yes, you did.
No,
Yes,
somebody
Tom
else.
Brady tracker.
And have I talked about number 8? Have I talked about him at all?
Drew L said Daniel Jones is better than Kenny Pickett. Sorry, TJ.
Oh,
Wait to see. Let's wait and see on that one. Okay, Drew. Let's hit pause on that. Paul Feinstein says James Reimer needs a lot of support, and I hope he isn't forced out of the league. A brave move on his part. Yeah, I saw something about that. He didn't want to go out there and didn't want to wear the pride jerseys or something like that. And he determined not to do warm-ups. It's a non-story. It's like, whatever, do what you want. Doesn't bother me either which way. Whether you wear them, you don't wear them, completely no impact on my day-to-day life.
I want to give kudos to the NFL for letting him
NHL.
the NHL, I'm sorry, to, just say he didn't want to do it. They didn't force him to do it. Good for them.
Yeah, do what you want. Considering Grumpy agrees with me on the fact that Daniel Jones is Kenny Pickett. If he was 6'5" and mobile, oh my God! Let's turnover. No, hold on. Full stop. Are you kidding me? Stop.
Okay. Well, all I want to say is I think Kenny Pickett has a chance to be an above-average quarterback.
Yes.
I don't think that Daniel Jones does. He was not great last year.
Kenny Pickett had for a rookie. I think he had more come from behind victories. Whatever. What was that I sent you where he had a ball sent to the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, he had 2. I think it was back-to-back comeback wins. I think it was of a rookie quarterback. It was the first time that it happened or something like that in history.
Yes.
It went when actually it's in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Ball.
Yeah, so his ball in that second comeback was where he threw that touchdown was sent to Canton. Yeah, that's right. As a rookie, no other quarterbacks had back-to-back games where they had come from behind victories in the fourth quarter. But I think Kenny Pickett just has that clutch gene. I'm not sure he's going to be a great quarterback, but he could be clutch.
He beat 2 shitty teams at the end.
I wonder if there'll be fake sliding anymore.
The fake slide, the Kenny Pickett slide. James F. said, I think if Jimmy G is healthy and the Raiders make, good 5 out of 10 picks turn into starters, the Raiders can make the playoff. Hold on.
Raiders need defense. They need defense. They didn't address it in free agency. I was really surprised. They made no moves. They brought in a lot of expatriates. That's who McDaniels and Ziegler he'll feel comfortable with. They have to win now to keep their jobs. But I think it's going to be they need an offensive tackle, and then they need to go defense.
Look at this fucking comment. Andrew said, TJ's familiar with hairline fractures.
Whoa! Yikes.
That was good. That was really good.
The World Baseball Classic 23 video games coming out soon. They can play with that. Mike White gets hurt a lot too. And the Montreal Alouettes.
Alouette, jante, alouette, jante plumeray, jante plumeray, le tête, jante plumeray, ma tête, et le tête, hooray.
I really wish the MLB brings back the Expos because I live in Montreal.
I love the Expos uniforms.
Do you know who was drafted by the Expos?
Vladimir Guerrero.
Tom Brady.
That's
Tom Brady.
right. I just wanted to bring up Tom Brady again.
As a catcher.
Stop, X. Stop. We got comments to get through.
He was a third round pick as a catcher.
All righty. Milo Brownie says, all right, fellas, give us your Formula One comments. No crashes this race, but another Red Bull Racing 1-2 finish.
Okay.
You want to know what go ahead, Grumpy.
Go ahead, TJ.
You want to know why I didn't know that Lewis Hamilton was as old as he was? For whatever reason, I thought he was much younger than he was. And I looked at, because I was doing some research before, and I'm like, holy shit, he's won a whole hell of a lot of these Formula One championships. I'm like, he has been racing for a lot longer than I was aware of. Because I feel like just recently, now that they've got that Verstappen, am I pronouncing that name correctly? Verstappen fella who's been racing extremely well. I'm like, I feel like they've been pushing a lot more, and that's been all over. That's been like around, at least it's been reaching my viewpoint for certain as a guy who is not a F1 guy.
How old is Lewis Hamilton?
I'll pull up. I think he's in his 30s.
Yeah, it's just
those racers last a long time though.
No, they don't.
38. He's 38
really?
years old.
They don't, because
Verstappen's 25. That's what I'm saying. He's old.
That's a young man sport, because as you get older, you think, oh, you know what? Maybe
Your reactions start to get a little more delayed.
Yeah, but maybe I'm not going to make this cut in here because, I could get seriously injured in a crash. When you're young, you don't even think like that. My takeaway is anyone going to beat Red Bull Racing this year? They're so much better than everybody else. I mean, they're incredible. I mean, that
Mercedes.
Mercedes is like in the rearview mirror now. Red Bull Racing is like Red Bull Racing, they're better. They're by far better. I just want, what are they doing? Are they cheating? Is the, I mean, it's not like, I don't think it's like NASCAR where all the cars have to be the same.
They've got to reach requirements, but I don't know.
All the cars in NASCAR don't have to be the same. They can have different stuff with their tuning.
Well, but there's limits to
certain
what you can do.
Yeah, but they just tune them differently. That's how they make the cars different.
Well, they're all pretty much the same speed.
Yeah.
Then they afterwards they take them in after, if somebody, after you win, they take it upon and tear the car apart to make sure that it's within specs. That's the thing about stock car. Basically, they're the same.
Frank says here that was a stupid trade by the Panthers.
I disagree. I don't think you know what it's been like down here the last number of years. The owner is a dope, in my opinion.
Dave Tepper.
Yeah, but he's got a lot of
fan of what he did.
He's got a lot of money, but
with the headquarters bullshit, that was ridiculous.
Yeah, and Matt Rule was a disastrous hire. They're saying they have the best coaching staff in the league. I don't think so, but
ask the Colts about that.
Yeah, but I mean, they have Jim Caldwell. They have Josh McGowan, and he's going to be the quarterback's coach. I mean, I don't know. I think if the Panthers, we got to remember how bad the NFC South is. I mean, the team that won last year had a losing record, even with the People's Champion. And who's the favorite in the NFC South? I could see them winning division. The only threat really now is who?
It's Tampa now. Baker Mayfield.
No, they're bad. You'll see how bad they are this year.
I'll say the Saints are probably the favorite with the Carr signing.
Do they have? Is Kamara going to be there? Derek Carr is not the answer. He's just not.
Okay, Michael Thomas has been out with 2 dislocated big toes back-to-back years, opposite feet. Now he's in his early 30s. How much does Michael Thomas have left in the tank? Before he got injured, he was the number 1 wideout in the NFL. And it's crazy how the standing completely changes for him.
They're still good defensively, but offensively, they're a disaster. And I just don't think Derek Carr is the answer. Chris Olave was good for them. But how long is Kamara going to be out? Big loss for them.
And he's older, too. Drew L. says Shea seems to have more connections than the elites.
That's true. That's true.
And Frank says, oh, snap. Aho's out. Sebastian Aho did get injured. Maybe Shea's Robin Salo comes back.
I'm going to bet not.
Frank says, TJ, put a paper bag on. Oh, God. Joseph C. said, Paige must love stashes. That's why TJ's keeping it. No, I don't know. I haven't even asked her about it, really. I'll have to ask the lovely Paige about it. I'll give credit to Fairleigh Dickinson. I would have rooted for them if they played anybody besides Florida Atlantic.
Florida Atlantic's going to get bullied the next game by Tennessee. Tennessee played bully ball. They do. That, or she really loves the movie Starship Troopers.
Super
Troopers.
Shea Grumpy. Look at that. Look at that updated picture that Shea's got.
Football sucks. Thank you, Shea. I posted a picture of my story of David Griffin. He pitched today, and he told me I didn't even feel warmed up. So I'm just glad I was able to get out of it after the game when we were messaging. She's messaging players. That's Shea. I'm telling you.
Shea's connected.
I want to hang out with Shea and see what she does because she is able to get players to give her things. Just able to do it.
Drew L. said, TJ needs to start rocking a do-rag. Maybe TJ's thinning hair can produce some waves then. There's going to be no waves produced on this hair, Drew. Thank you so much, though.
And you can start everything like, what? Let me tell you something, brother.
Frank says, TJ, please put on the cop sunglasses, please. I don't have sunglasses.
No music and no sunglasses.
Andrew L. said, yeah, because I just squint. If I'm out in the sun, I just do this.
I love this comment.
Squint.
Andrew L. said, since when did I take up basketball? Ooh, I was also messaging with a different play, but not in the mood to type. Okay. Look at Shea. Look at Shea. TJ looks like Paul Blart.
Paul Blart, Mall Cop. Kevin James played that. Ouch.
Yeah.
Kevin James has more hair.
Not a good comparison. TJ, you can do a skit of a cop pulling over Lou Lamoriello now. Maybe we'll have to run with that on the show. Mm-hmm. Paulo C said here, the strike year in on August 12th, 1994 really fucked us because the Expos were the first MLB and on our way, first in the MLB and on the way to the World Series.
And I think that's when they canceled the season. You can never let that happen. That was just terrible.
Frank says Mekhi Becton lost 60 pounds, Andrew. Yes.
So now he's only 150 pounds overweight.
USA up 13-2 over Cuba in the 7th inning.
Cuba.
Goon says, TJ, find a construction hat, mirrored shades, and you'd be a village people person. Pull up a pic if you don't believe this outlandish claim.
YMCA.
You go, Grumpy.
Shay, do you watch or listen to any Mets podcasts?
Keep reading, Grumpy, please.
FAU to the Sweet 16. Let's go.
Yep.
Shay says, nope, not a big podcast person. Joe C says, got it. Was just curious. Drew adds, I think it's a hate crime that Trevor Bauer doesn't represent Japan. It's not like America wants him on their team. Shay goes, no, it's once every 4 years. Haven't been since 2017 because of COVID. Drew comments, hey, TJ, what's up with Gonzaga? They look like crap against TCU.
They're winning it all, though.
Damn it.
They're winning it all.
They're winning it all is right.
James Farrell has a couple of comments. Says Michigan wins the Big Ten hockey championship 4-3, and the WBC is easy to fix. This just play in November.
I'm not compared to that.
I'm not watching that either. Not watching that either.
Hold on a second. This guy looks a little flamboyant. That's all I'm going to say.
They were very popular in the gay community for certain. They'd all different. Like there was the construction worker, the fireman, the policeman. I don't even know what they were. Some guy in all leather. They had, I think, 5 of them. I think there were 5. They had In the Navy, and YMCA was their big song. It was during the disco craze in the late 70s.
Drew L. Grumpy.
You know how you can make this country's athletes sing our national anthem? We change our anthem from the Star Spangled Banner to Lee Greenwood's God Bless America. No, they just don't do it because they don't care.
Andrew L. Grumpy.
TJ, stop comparing it to the World Cup. Nobody is believing this is going to be the same size as the World Cup. It would be idiotic to even believe that.
Thank you, Andrew L.
Then Andrew follows it up because he's so pissed off at TJ and his imbecilic comments. Let's completely discontinue any sort of tournament that has to do with countries involved because it doesn't get the same viewership as the World Cup.
Let me ask you this. What other sports have it to where, right? Most baseball players come from what regions?
Okay, here's the
North
thing.
and South America with
The
the
other
sprinkled in
sports-
Japanese players. What are you going to say?
The other sports are represented in the Olympics. That's the other thing. Baseball is not. That's why they added this. Every other sport's represented in the Olympics.
It should be at the end of the season, end of the year, but they don't want to play in the
You
cold.
want these? Yeah, you can't be playing out there when it's 30 degrees outside.
Don't play it.
TJ, is this the hill you really want to die on?
Oh,
Yes.
Really?
I think it's completely moronic to play this.
Well, I'm going to the
Just
next
because
topic.
it affects your team, that's why you think it's dumb.
How long until 4 years from now, a guy, a top tier player, more injuries is all I'm waiting on. Just to say, I just can't stop being right. Joseph C. Grump.
How come Aaron Judge didn't play in the tournament? Joseph C. says, I'm fine with the WBC, but they have to change the timing of the event and move it to November or December.
That's my point, that they don't want to play in the wintertime.
Have them play in Qatar. It's always hot there.
Yeah, that's fine. Here you go. Have it every year playing Qatar in November. Every 4 years playing Qatar in November,
I think the
December.
U.S. wants that viewership and those rights and all that ticket sales.
Do you want to? Let me tell you something else, though. You play in Qatar, I guarantee you those games are going to be under 2 hours before the sun fully comes up and it's like 4,000 degrees out there. Yeah. Okay, don't worry. We'll get these pictures in.
They'll be playing in shorts. They'll be playing in shorts in
Yeah,
Qatar.
that's it.
Here, you're
You know,
grumpy.
the Chicago White Sox did that once year. They played in shorts in like the 80s, and you know it'd be really a bitch when the guys went to slide in shorts.
Oh, I bet.
Yep.
Cut your knees
Drew
up.
L. Grumpy.
Drew says, you know, Grumpy, every time TJ's about to go on a millennial meltdown, making fun of his appearance seems to calm him down and take him away from the subject at hand. And then Drew follows up with, look, those little soy boy wide receivers like Chris Godwin can't play through one ACL tear. Meanwhile, A.J. Brown can play through torn ACLs in both knees and was still a top 10 receiver in the NFL. Legend.
And if I was the Raiders, I'd make a trade for DeAndre Hopkins.
Where does he? I mean, you got Renfro and you have, unless you're going to play 3 wide receiver sets and forget the tight end, if you
Devontae
trade
Adams.
Waller. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's kind of, I don't think there are teams that actually should do that without doubt.
Another's reaction was like John Cooper losing out on his dynasty Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, well.
Karen alert. She's even got the haircut, says Joseph C.
Oh,
Just he also said Grumpy was hoping that Spencer Lee kid was the size of Brock Lesnar, so he can mark at or so he
mark
can
out for him. No, what I was hoping he was bigger because then it doesn't matter if he loses there, he'll still get a job in WWE, and that's not the case. Unless it's midget wrestling, maybe he could go out there for that.
Well, no. How tall was Rey Mysterio?
It doesn't matter. You can't be 120.
He was 5'3", 125 pounds.
Well, I don't know how big Rey Mysterio was. Rey Mysterio wasn't very big.
No,
Rey Mysterio was juiced.
but he wasn't really big. He might be. Rey Mysterio actually might be 5'3", 5'4". I don't know how big.
I mean, if he can learn how to do that, I mean, Rey Mysterio is a different kind of wrestler. He did all those acrobatic flips and tricks, so that he would obviously have to learn how to do that. But
I remember when Rey Mysterio was in WCW and he ran into the NWO outside in the parking lot, and Kevin Nash picked him up and he threw him like a lawn dart into like the side of a trailer. I mean, maybe that's what this kid can be. He can be like a lawn dart.
I don't remember if it was the Great Khali or the Big Show. Somebody went ahead and like kicked him and brutalized him, like kicked him out of the ring one time.
That happened all the time when you're like 5 foot. How big is he, TJ?
Drew L said that mother. I'll pull that up. I wanted to pull up a picture of him first, but keep reading comments. So again, he's gonna have to put on a shit ton of weight if he wants to be the Rey Mysterio.
Okay.
Yeah, Rey Mysterio's been working in wrestling for a long time. As
5'6",
professional
Rey
wrestler.
Mysterio is listed at 5'6".
5'6". Okay, so he's 3 inches shorter.
And he's like a midget out there. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, especially when they put him up against the Great Khali or the Big Show. Yeah, of course he looks very.
maybe he could be a ring boy or something like that, or a guy who collects jackets, from the guys when they come into the ring.
Hornswoggle.
A little hornswoggle.
Drew L said that mother gave me the "Where's your manager's glasses?" throw. Paulo C said, "Guys, if we can somehow make 7th, do you think we have a better chance to advance to the second round?"
No, got to play Carolina or
we're
the Devils. I just don't think we're beating a good team. Here's the thing: we're going to be playing Carolina and the Devils in the coming week. Let me know how we look against those teams because that's key.
Thomas Otto said Lerner was also on the practice squad for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar.
Lesnar. There it is.
Yep, and he did not make the team.
Paulo C said, I do it too, Frank. I could say anything can happen. Oh my God.
Gosh.
And yep, Ottawa, my neighbors have to do me a favor tomorrow. And the Red Wings against Florida. They've got to beat Florida too.
Red Wings are done. They're mailing it in.
Yep. What's up, Sean? He says, what's going on? Tommy Shredder says, I'm about to put 100 on the Jets winning the Super Bowl, and I'm a Giants fan.
And I'm a Giants fan. Very good.
Russell
I mean,
Thomas,
Grumpy will
I gotta
refund
know,
you.
can we beat Toronto on Tuesday?
no way. No way.
Oh,
I won't say no way.
Quentin's brother. I'm sorry they didn't reside. Thank you, Dave. Okay.
Okay. They have both guys play on the same team? I didn't realize that.
Neither did I. Maybe I just made a mistake there, Tony Cheese. I'm a Jets fan since 82, and they ain't winning Super Bowl next year. It's Cincy's turn.
Would it bother me if Cincinnati won a Super Bowl? Not at all.
Tommy Shredder said, read some comments from Facebook too, TJ. These are all from YouTube. There are no comments from Facebook. Everybody watches on YouTube. We've got a few that are coming in on Facebook, but a lot of these are on YouTube. Drew L said, who's going to win the NFL or the NFL MVP next season? The New York Knicks. Oh my God.
Drew's got some issues tonight. I could tell.
What if it says, talking hockey, Winnipeg rallied hard to get them back. Talking about getting back there as a Canadian team. And then D-Cut says the Rangers have a home and home with the super soft candy canes this week. They may pass them along with the Devils.
Rangers are hot. I mean, the whole thing is you look at I think the top, I might even say top 6 teams in the NHL are all in the Eastern Conference. All of them.
The West Coast teams below this year.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, Golden Knights, maybe Dallas, but I mean, come on. Miami Hurricanes for the win
Yep, they won. They cruised tonight.
against Indiana.
Yep.
Continue reading it.
Andrew L says Michigan State, the only Big Ten team still standing. What a Film says, I don't know much about football origins, but wouldn't it be better if the New York Jets were in the NFC? Football is like baseball. Well, they have the Giants in the NFC, so they definitely want to split that up. Deep Cut says TJ looks like the guy from Boogie Nights who blew his brains out after his wife was knocking boots in the driveway. That was Bill Macy, was that? And Bill Macy had way more hair than TJ. What a Film says is hockey the only sport where conferences go by geography, divisions go by geography, but conferences do not.
Well, Grump, I think he was saying after he blew his brains out. You know, the hair.
Maybe shot the top of his head off with the hair with it.
Yeah,
Very possible. Thank you, X, for the clarification.
Just wait till X is showing his pretty little scalp.
Bro, I'll be wearing a bag. Okay,
He's wearing a bag.
Hiding your scalp. Okay. What a Film's, Grumpy.
It's a cool time. Baseball starting up. Basketball playoffs coming. Go Celtics. But right now, I am praying for a win on Tuesday night. This is a big game for the Islanders, really is.
Frank said, oh my God, Vegas crushed the Columbus Blue Jackets.
As they should, because they suck.
Just like we crushed the Sharks yesterday.
Yep. Should have been.
To be fair, TJ, I'm a do-rag would probably look like Uncle Ruckus if he was white. I don't know who that
in a
is.
do-rag.
Fire TJ, hire D-Cut.
That's a popular refrain.
Frank Grumpy.
The Yankees were good in 1994. Finally, Mattingly hosed that year. After carrying the Yankees through all those shit years, he deserved better. Still makes me sad. Yeah, never won a playoff series, Don Mattingly. He was a great player, though.
Drew said here, fire TJ, hire the comment section.
Oh, wow.
Tommy Shredder said, what do you guys think about the World Boxing Commission giving Tommy Fury a cruiser weight ranking for beating Jake Paul?
Is there any more dead of a sport than boxing? Let me tell you something. Back in the 80s, boxing was tremendous.
UFC's bigger than boxing now.
Yeah.
I'll say yes.
And they got the potential. They have the potential to be much bigger than
They
boxing.
do not. They do not. They do not. Not when boxing was popular. Not when boxing was really popular. UFC will never ever get that level of popularity. Just won't. But boxing is dead. It's dead. Andrew also says, thank you, Son X, for handling my light work. Now continue playing with your Barbies. Woo! Still taking the Barbie shots. What is it? That's hilarious.
That's hilarious. The boys commenting on funny as shit. This could work. Oh, man. Speaking of the Village People, there's a Casablanca movie coming out soon. Casablanca
was the record company that produced the Village People music. And, Casablanca was also a movie that won the Academy Award for Best Picture back in, I want to say, 1941 or 42.
Tommy Shredder says, fire TJ, hire Son X, forget D-Cut. And he also says, did anybody hear Kamala Harris cringy speak to Kansas after their 28-point loss? It was horrible.
Yes, that was bad. That was bad.
Hold on. Kansas or Kansas?
Bisons. Yeah, it was against, I think Kansas. They lost to Kansas. I guess she was whatever, the Bison. That was the team that
some really, really small.
They got killed, and she's in there giving a speech. Oh, you guys were the talk of everything in the area. You guys stay strong, Bison, all this. It's just like, oh my, after they got brutalized by Kansas. Wasn't even close. And it's like, that's exactly what I want to hear after we just got our asses kicked.
I guess she won't be running for president anytime soon. Andrew L says, Son X, may I ask you to pronounce Rey Mysterio like you do?
Rey Mysterio?
Rey Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio?
Oh, Mysterio. Mysterio, I guess.
Who the fuck is Rey Mysterio?
Whatever. Rey Mysterio. I always called him Rey Mysterio as a kid.
Rey Mysterio.
Well, TJ used to call the wrestler Kane. He used to call him the Kane.
The Cane.
The Kane. Yes.
Oh man. Okay. Let's hear. We're at the end. Grumpy's right. 80s boxing was great.
He was.
I talked to Teddy Atlas about those great fights once in a while when I see him at the Italian Deli.
It was phenomenal. It was so good. No, here's the thing. Think about it. There are better ways to make money than getting your brains beat out. Now, back in the 50s and the 40s and the 30s, they had great boxers too because it was an easy way to make money. I mean, now there's so many other ways to make money. So,
Grumpy.
how does TJ call Piazza? Piazza! Piazza!
All righty. That's a good way to end the show on. Grumpy, what do you want to say before we wrap things up?
I want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens and even those who don't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man and Son X.
And Son X, what do you want to say before we wrap things up?
Just want to thank everybody for coming out and listening. Hope you all enjoyed the show, and make sure to like and subscribe.
That's right. Tommy Schroeder said, when's the next podcast, boys? Next podcast this Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Tommy. And first off, thank you, everybody, for tuning in, watching the show tonight. We appreciate that. As always, thank you, Grumpy. Thank you, Son X. We're going to have, I'm sure, an action-packed show this Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you've enjoyed this content, leave a thumbs up. Apparently, it helps the algorithm. Gets mine, Grumpy, and Son X's words out to the masses. Also, subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and follow on Twitter. D-Cut says, is Son X hiding his face because he has an X-rated OnlyFans page?
Ooh.
Oh,
No, I do not.
Adriel said Gonzaga sucks and hit the thumbs up. Gonzaga's going to pull off the victory, baby. Don't doubt
They're
this.
winning right now. Oh,
We'll see you
never
guys.
mind. They're no longer winning.
We'll see you guys on Thursday. Thank you so much as always. Thank you, Grumpy and X.
My pleasure.
Have a good one.